Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It is the Wild Circuit Game Changers. I am Lee D-Man-Smith. I'm going to be your host and commentator for the day, but I'm not alone. Joining me is, of course, Scoundrel and it's Stuart. They've been with us all the way through the SPS League, and we're here today to bring us what is going to be a fantastic tournament. Yourself, Stu, quickly, very quickly, covered this in the quarterfinals and semi-finals.
Yeah, exactly. I was able to, watch both of these teams before. It's going to be a really, really close series. I think it's going to be very, very close. I'm really excited to see these two teams compete at LAN, competing on a stage as well.
Yeah, really, really excited. Obviously, the first time we've had game changers for Wild Rift. So, great opportunity and great chance to see players we wouldn't usually get to see. So it's awesome.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, this is what it's all about. Obviously, we've been covering the SPS throughout, which will be happening tomorrow. But today, this is a tournament that sort of came about, and then everybody was like, oh, okay, not sure how it's going to go. And then suddenly all the teams got on board, and it was great to see all the orgs getting involved.
I think that's the great thing, is that all the orgs were backing it, supporting it as well. You had Formulation Queens in the qualifiers. You had, Clash as well, which will be there today. You'll have Team Demiro as well, was also another organization as well, which was in the Game Changers playoffs. Unfortunately, couldn't make it to the finals, but it's good to see that organizations are backing the women's.
Yeah, and I think also, we've had a lot of really high skill display all the way through the open qualifiers, all the way through the semi-finals as well. So I think we're going to get a really high quality final. I'm really excited to see some of these players make a name for themselves, because that's what this is all about. It's marking your name in the competitive scene. Same across all of Riot's titles for Game Changers. Just gives them, women that opportunity to kind of showcase their skills, but they might not usually get that opportunity. So it's really awesome. It's a great initiative, and I'm so glad it's here with Wild Rift.
Absolutely, raise them on the platform that they absolutely needed, because we are here in the studio, but this is all happening live in Valencia, which is fantastic to see. As you said, they're going to be on the stage. They get to have that big stage environment, which is pretty rare these days.
Stage looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, these players are going to be under a lot of pressure. I think for most, if not all of these, girls, they're going to be pretty much first time on stage, playing Wild Rift. They're used to home. They're used to playing at home, playing on their bed as well. Obviously, Wild Rift being a mobile
everybody
game.
Plays, right?
Exactly, just chilling. Exactly. But now you're on the stage. Now you've got fans watching as well. This is the first time that Wild Rift has ever had to land on stage with fans, so it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic stuff. Let's get over to Valencia, to Banks and Carmeline.
Hello and welcome to the 2022 Wild Circuit Game Changers Finals. My name is Banks and I am your host, and I'm joined on the main stage by my incredible co-host. It is, of course, Carmeline. How's it going today?
Estoy encantada de estar aquí en Valencia para ver estas finales de la Game Changers del Wild Circuit. Vamos a ver un montón de partidas con unas jugadoras excelentes, así que espero que las apoyéis.
Well, the journey has been action-packed from the start of this female-only Wild Rift competition. And what better way to make a statement in this esport than to be the first to be crowned champion of your region, Europe, Middle East and North Africa.
Hay muchísimo en juego en este torneo. Todo se jugará a un mejor de 5 y si consiguen ganarlo y mantener la calma para hacerlo, logran llevarse el trofeo de la competición.
Well, what a show we have in store for you today, as it centres around just 2 teams that remain in this competition. So, one best-of-5 match on the main stage right here, and it's for all the marbles, Carmeline.
Solamente 2 equipos han llegado hasta esta fase de la competición y se enfrentarán, como ya decíamos, en un mejor de 5 en este mismo escenario.
Well, it has been an honor to introduce you all to the main stage and to our awesome audience here at DreamHack Valencia. And I believe it's time to put some expertise into your ears, so we're going to hand it over to our casters.
Y dentro de muy poco ya se lo vamos a mandar a los comentaristas que están preparados.
Thank you very much, guys. So, yeah, I mean, as we just saw, looking great on the stage there, looking fantastic. Let's talk about the format and how they all got here to start with. Obviously, it was a bit of a journey for some of them. It's not so easy to just turn up on the stage. It was 4 groups of 4 that they had to play in that round-robin format, then through that BO3 single elimination playoffs, which is obviously where you came in, Stu, and now here in the playoffs, the finals. Sorry.
Yeah, like you said, it was a long road for most of these teams, and most of the teams as well all came together for Game Changers as well. You know, all these teams, all these organizations came together, had to battle through a lot of good competition as well, and it's very tough to try and battle through a tough competition to try and make it to a LAN final as well, with all these organizations, all these really top players getting involved.
Yeah, and I think it was an absolute gauntlet. There was so many games to play to get through to here. You had group stage, you had those playoffs brackets as well. We were best of 3s, now into a best of 5 in the final 2. So plenty of chance to showcase your stuff. We've already seen loads of stuff from these players as well in the build up to this final. And I think now is a great opportunity for, as Stu said, you get that LAN experience. Getting more LAN experience for Game Changers players is really important. Getting them in front of the crowd, getting them on stage and seeing how they perform. It's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, let's look what they're playing for, of course, today. A lot of money up for grabs. Overall, the prize pool for the Wild Circuit is $18,000. That is just for the final here, I should point out as well, because obviously 3rd and 4th also got some money as well. So a lot of money for this final.
It's great. It's great to see. It's really important to have like very solid prize pools behind Game Changers too. The women that are coming out to play today would be competing for no small chunk of change. Yeah. I would be very happy to be competing for that amount of money in the finals. So best of 5 for Barney. he's called Barney.
It is Barney.
It is Barney, technically. Yeah. As Banks said on the stage, all the marbles. Like, you get a huge amount of cash if you're coming first.
And I think it just adds to the pressure as well, because when you realise as well, when your players, going onto the stage for the first time, realising how much money there is involved and how much money you're playing for as well, and also to win the trophy as well, which we saw on stage, which is really exciting to see. A lot of pressure on these players, but a lot of money, which is also great.
Absolutely, a lot of pressure. Well, let's have a look at the teams that are going to be taking part today. Obviously, we saw them go through the qualifiers. It is CG1 up against Clash YUGEN. Going to be a tough old match. Best of 5, though. Great to have that format for the final.
Yeah, best of 5 is really important, I think, for a grand final, to make sure that you get enough games, against each other, to make sure that you're able to, compete against each other. You can bring out new champions. You can, flex, around in the draft as well. I think it's always important to have a grand final with a best of 5.
Is there anything that stood out for you from these teams? Obviously, throughout the qualifiers, obviously, to both teams, obviously had a tough old matchup. CG1 versus Formulation, and YUGEN had Demiro, right?
Yes.
So definitely tough games.
I think for both of them, it's actually, for most people watching, was actually a really big surprise that both these teams got to the final. Formulation Queens was actually the favourites in their series, and also Team Demiro was actually favourites in their series as well. So coming into this grand final, it's kind of 2 teams that were underdogs, but that's the great, it's a great thing about open qualifiers. Any team can join in, any organisation as well can get involved. I think the big key though is to make sure that, with being on the LAN stage probably for the first time, get your comfort champions, make sure that you can play well. We're going to be looking at the junglers as well, especially Rizal, which we'll talk about obviously the players later on, but I think Rizal is going to be definitely one player to look out for on CG1.
Yeah, standout players throughout both teams. We're going to be going to the stage in just a few moments, guys. They're all sat ready and waiting, getting themselves on the stage. It's going to be a nervy moment. I feel like I'm feeling nervous. I don't know about them, sat behind the stage. Obviously, they're going to do a walk out on the stage. They've got to play in front of on the lights and the cameras.
You ever done that before? Played at a LAN?
I have played at LAN, of course I have. I'm a world champion. I was a world champion, if you don't mind, in Battlefield 942. So yeah, I've been there, done that.
D-Man, when he
was the old flex on there.
He was like 50 years younger. He was playing Battlefield 1942.
When we started Team Dignitas, so that's how long ago it was. Yeah,
I actually played on stage once. Yeah. I played in a league tournament in the UK. I was a jungler. I played Xin Zhao. And do you remember the player Shaka? I'll tell you the story later, but he blasted me in Liverpool.
Let's go over to the stage. Enough of his ramblings. Let's see what's going on in Valencia. Let's introduce the teams.
waiting backstage to come out here and make history in Wild Rift Esports. So, I believe it is time to introduce your first competitor to the main stage. Please put your hands together. DreamHack Valencia for Clash YUGEN.
Le damos la bienvenida a Clash YUGEN, que viene directamente desde Italia, equipo que va a representar, como ya decimos, a la organización. Y aquí viene.
Their late game scaling team compositions drove them to victory in the semi-finals. Put your hands together for Lulu, Flair, Nezuri, Lilith and Hurricane.
Como ya decíamos, tenemos aquí a Clash YUGEN con un estilo de juego tirando más hacia el tiempo tardío de la partida y también con un lema muy claro: nunca se rinden, en absoluto. Así que veremos si pueden llevar esto al día de hoy con las partidas que tienen.
And we are now ready to meet their opponents on the main stage. Please everyone put your hands together for CG1.
Tenemos a CG1, que viene desde China, unas jugadoras con muchísima habilidad, muy temidas por el resto de las competidoras. Así que vamos a verlo.
Their aggressive play style, team synergy is what CG1 attribute to their success after defeating Formulation Queens in the semi-finals. Can they bring that same energy to the final? It's Sally, Roselle, Yao Yao, Xuen and Aurora. So, two teams, they're going to enter and only one team is going to take home the trophy. So, one best of 5 and the glory is all yours. So there's no pressure, right, Carmeline?
No hay ningún tipo de presión para todas las jugadoras que ya se encuentran aquí en el escenario preparadas para jugar. Dentro de muy poquito empezaremos con esa mesa de analistas y de hecho va a ser ahora mismo.
No pressure. Absolutely loving Lilith's red contact lenses, which actually looked like she was wearing them there. I don't know how that... I mean, it's obviously around the iris.
So when we usually do these, right? Even when we do these esports B-rolls, usually it's a bit cringe because you get people going like
gamers doing man.
I looked at Lilith, I was like, Lilith looks cool. I was like, that was
confidence
cool.
as well.
That was really cool.
That's a great thing.
Because like when honestly, it's like a meme in esports when you do these esports B-rolls and you've got the players and the teams lining up and the players are going like this, esports pose, and it's just.
I see that tomorrow, maybe.
we probably see it tomorrow. The esports pose.
Trying to match what footballers and others do. Yes, they ain't quite got the same builds. Yeah,
no,
exactly.
I mean, it's super exciting, and to see them on stage as well. You know, getting ready to go head to head. As you said, Stu, neither of these teams were particularly favourite coming into their semi-finals, so it's a bit of a coin flip to see where this goes. I think two relatively good teams coming up against each other in the finals, both quite evenly matched. I'm slightly favouring CG1, but I think YUGEN can surprise.
I think anything happen on a LAN stage. I think that's a great thing about a LAN environment is that, it could come down to nerves, it can come down to what picks you get on the day as well. I think that's the big thing. LAN, anything can happen. I think I'm the same. I'm a CG1 as well. But I do think that, Clash YUGEN can have a chance as well.
And let's quickly touch on that because obviously we're coming into this from a very different patch when we were here. Last month, obviously, we're on to 3.5 A. Yeah, we ain't quite hit B yet. A, and I think all champions are available, actually. They're released. I'm trying to think because it's normally a 2-week gap, isn't it?
Yeah, normally 1 or 2 week gap. Yeah, all the new champions are available. So you got Aatrox is going to be available throughout the entirety of the next few days. Vex as well, Warwick, Kayn as well. So new champions, new items, everything.
Warwick.
No one's playing Warwick. That champion.
Yeah,
nobody's going to play Warwick.
I didn't even put him down. I completely forgot about him, and I didn't even put him down as well.
I was the one talking to you. I was like, I don't know, actually. When did he come out? I don't know.
I just completely forgot about that champion. He's got released, and then it was just like, who's going to play?
Aatrox permaban, right? I'm expecting Aatrox permaban. That champion's busted.
You didn't mention Kayn, by the way. You didn't mention Kayn.
I did mention.
Yeah, he did mention Kayn.
Yeah.
Red Kayn's pretty good, but yeah, blue Kayn still sucks.
I think it just depends on the comfort picks. I think coming into this, both these teams coming into the semi-final. There is one thing to mention, that the main jungler for Clash YUGEN couldn't actually make it to LAN, unfortunately. Berlusconi? Yep, there you go. So Flair's coming in as a sub for Clash YUGEN, so that's if you're going to switch things up to see if they got a lot of practice. But I think comfort picks is always important on a LAN stage because you're going to have so much pressure. You've got fans watching and everything.
Especially for game one. Especially for game one. You want your comfort picks in there. Obviously, they're definitely going to be a very interesting setup. Probably, in fairness, the first time a lot of these met each other the first time, I would assume, when they came into the LAN. It's like there's generally
it was like that in with like Rix and with like Queso as well. Like before that first LAN, none of them had ever met each other. So it's a great opportunity to get your team together and kind of have that vibrant.
Well, LANs are so good.
And you can see from some of the footage for these teams that everyone seemed to like vibe really well. Everyone was getting on really well, and it was great to see the teams kind of instantly gel in person also.
Normally you get like tournament practice online where you're like talking to each other on Discord or anything like that, but over the last few days, all these girls are going to be, have the environment and training stage and everything like that to be able to practice together, which I think is so important. As you said, first game, always the most important. You have to try and get off to a strong start, but look at that. LAN environment, beautiful.
LAN environment, indeed.
Good crowd there as well.
Yes,
watching a bit of Wild Rift and DreamHack Valencia.
First ever time as well. Wild Rift is having a LAN with
yes,
fans.
it is
Their
the
first ever crowd.
First ever crowd.
Because we've been through COVID through it all.
Yeah, because we had Origin Series, which didn't have a crowd. We had WRIC Finals, which didn't have a crowd. With
Icons obviously didn't have a crowd.
Icons didn't
Horizon Cup as well.
I think Icons and Horizon Cup, neither of them had crowds over in Southeast Asia, did they? So it was the first ever Wild Rift LAN where there was a crowd.
There's going to be some trivia for you. It's like, what was the first ever tournament for Wild Rift that had a crowd?
The last ever tournament.
And you're not going to... Yeah, well, okay, we won't go down that road. But anyway, obviously, we could be talking about Snapdragon, but it's not. It's actually the Wild Circuit.
Yes.
Oh, that's true, yeah. Wild Circuit Game Changers.
Yeah, you see.
He's got a esports pub quiz question for the
I've just said it was Jurasat does his pub quizzes, right? Our game's set up with that one. We're obviously waiting for the game to be set up. I kind of expected this same thing. First game of LAN. I know we've all been there.
We've been there. But obviously we're heading towards picks and bans. I mean, Stu, what are you expecting to be a high priority for either of these teams?
I think for CG1, you're looking for carry junglers for Rizal. I think Rizal's going to be one, like I mentioned before, is going to be a standout for CG1. We saw in the semi-finals that she was playing the likes of Lee Sin, Diana, Fiora as well. Funny enough, these two teams, this is not actually the first time that these two teams have actually played against each other. They actually played against each other in the group stage of the qualifiers. They both got into Group 4, where CG1 basically smashed through YUGEN 2-0. I think it's going to be a little bit different now. But in that, Rizal also played Evelynn and Karzik. So again, all about the carries in the jungle. Whereas, YUGEN on the other hand, we don't really know what Flair's going to be playing in the jungle.
That's
because
it.
the first time we're seeing
Flair coming in. It's always a worry.
She was a jungler main on PC League. She has been playing quite a lot of support in Wild Rift, but she's been transitioning back over to jungle ever since she's come in as a sub.
If she plays in PC League, then it's not exactly an alien role for her to come in.
Exactly, yeah. So I think that's going to be the interesting thing, to see if CG1 have maybe done the homework to see what Flair's going to play.
It is always hit and miss, right? Because sometimes you can have a substitute come in and absolutely pop off, play amazing. Or sometimes it can just be a real struggle, teamwork. I feel like Game 1 could be a bit of a groundbreaker for them in terms of confidence building as well, bringing in a new player. Obviously, they would have had a couple of scrim games, but pick and bans about ready to go. We have a graphic at the very least. I'm not too sure whether they're actually starting, because it tends to go pretty fast once it does, but you can see the countdown is going. So where are we banning first? Are we banning Aatrox? Are we still banning Gragas? Are we still what are we aiming at these days?
Definitely Aatrox. I think if you're following the meta, over in China they were banning Aatrox pretty much permanently as of late, because he's in a very strong spot. Graves ban coming through here by Clash, because Graves has been played a couple of times by Sally in the Baron lane, so starting to focus down there. It's interesting because YUGEN's Baron lane does play slightly off meta picks, like the Pantheon Baron lane, the Set Baron lane, which are not exactly super popular in the current meta. So yeah, kind of interested. I do like the big discrepancy as well, the Lux ban coming through. If you ban Galio, we'll then have to go on to something that we haven't seen from Yao Yao before, because Yao Yao has been complete support mid laner up until this point.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing about CG1's mid laner, is that not really known as like the aggressive assassins in the mid lane, more about the supports, about the Galio, about the Lux, you know, all these supportive style mid laners. So already target bans across the board, Set being banned as well away from YUGEN. A lot of power picks are left open though. I think Karma is definitely going to be a big pick for these two teams, because you know Karma as a champion can be flexed in multiple roles, and also is a champion that Hurricane has played before for YUGEN, so I'm interested if that gets banned away. But yeah, still a lot of power picks, still a lot of flex picks, and that's something I want to mention about YUGEN as well, is that they have a lot of flexibility with their team as well. They can play Karma in multiple roles, they can play Pantheon in multiple roles, Nautilus in multiple roles, so actually that's where I feel like YUGEN can maybe come out on top in the draft.
Ooh, Gwen, they are really trying to put some pressure onto Sally here. I mean, obviously we can see Gwen in the jungle from time to time, but it is a little worse than it used to be, so most people playing Gwen up in the Baron lane. So Sally been pretty heavily targeted, Yao Yao here as well. Obviously Wukong getting locked in on red side.
Yeah, I'm a little bit confused. So it looks like YUGEN are on the blue side and CG1 are on the red side, even though the graphic is the opposite way.
All right, guys, sorry, you're gonna have to bear with this. It is technically Clash YUGEN on blue side here. It looks like we're going to see a Vex immediately dropped in. I mean, obviously Yao Yao has gone on to the Galio. We know that's going to be for her in the mid lane because Lux and Galio is all that she's played so far. Diana comes out for Rizal, so already seeing a pretty comfortable comp from CG1. We've got a lot of games coming out from Aurora on the... in fact, Aurora absolutely smashed YUGEN on the Rakan in their time they matched up in the group stage, so it's something they're pretty comfortable on in that sense. So very AP heavy, I would say. Rakan all AP, Galio all AP, Diana all AP at this point. Of course, it's not too easy in Wild Rift to itemize against heavy AP comps. It's much easier to itemize armor than it is to get magic resisted in Wild Rift, but we'll need to have some solid AD damage probably coming in the Baron lane for Sally, and obviously Juan having the AD carry in the bot side.
So bans coming through, Alistair and Gragas being taken away, Renekton, and the final ban choice for YUGEN. Very clear goal for CG1. They want a team fight. They are going in hard engages all the way, full team fighting. Oh, Fiora the final ban. Fiora, well, I guess Fiora a strong matchup against Wukong. Well, I'll say equal matchup, a strong matchup.
That's probably a Baron lane ban for Sally, but you know Fiora has been played by Rizal in the jungle as well. But I think that Diana is most likely going to go because
you know that you've got support Rakan at this point, so it's unlikely you're going to flex Galio anywhere else at the
moment. And we're assuming Yao Yao's going to be playing Galio, right?
Yeah. So Yao Yao Galio, we're going to see Juan pick up the Ezreal here, and so we're going to see it is going to be final pick for CG1 at this point. So they're going to have the counter pick in the Baron lane. I think they know they're going up against Wukong. Now Wukong in the Baron lane is quite a tough matchup for most Baron laners. His sustain is in a pretty strong spot right now. Divine Sunder just having been buffed as well. So Wukong is in a great spot as a Baron lane pick. He's a super safe Baron lane pick in general too. And that's the Nami that comes through. Now, what I would say is that Clash YUGEN's comp, very, very, I think, reliant on kind of the Vex and oh, wait, that's not double Rakan.
Double Rakan!
WTF, 2 Rakans?
Classic meme.
We assume they've switched it round, so we'll wait and see what actually that top laner is.
I mean, basically, it's all about spacing for the Vex and the Xayah here for Clash YUGEN. Like, you've got a lot of spacing from the Jarvan, from the Wukong and the Nami. Obviously, Vex, you kind of have to go all in, so you're kind of going to be using the Vex to kind of follow up on that engage. But a lot of, I would say, pressure on Lilith to perform in this comp, because if she doesn't, I think she's going to be lacking damage on Clash YUGEN side if Lilith doesn't pop up. It's Jace. So it's Jace comes in for Sally. That is one of the few matchups that Wukong may struggle into. So, you know, if Sally can be aggressive in that matchup, you can kind of outpoke Wukong before he can sustain back up. But it is a wombo combo comp from CG1 if they can get them rolling in a team fight.
The one thing I love about these two teams is that, you know, they're playing what they know. You know, that's exactly it. There's no new picks coming out except for really the Vex, which we haven't seen a lot, so we're not too sure if, you know, these teams are going to be picking up. But, you know, we're seeing the carry junglers from Rizal. We're seeing the hyper carries, the late game hyper carries for YUGEN with the Vex and the Xayah. But I think one thing, as you mentioned, is that YUGEN want want to try and go in, as well as CG1. But against the likes of Rakan, especially against the likes of Galio as well, it's going to be so hard to try and engage, whether you're Flare on Jarvan, whether you're the Wukong, because you can have a Galio there. That Galio ulti, I think, is going to be so important to make sure you can counter-engage after that.
And even though Vex is traditionally ranged, of course, she really is kind of melee because of the way her kit works. Yeah. So, you know, you've got to be super careful into a Galio matchup as a Vex, because if the taunt's still up, you can get immediately burst down if you jump into a fight. So, you know, obviously, Galio great into Galio and Diana really good into heavy melee comps. So depending on how Nestori plays on the Vex, have to be a little careful there, because both those ultimates can really cause you to, well, the taunt and the ultimate from Diana can really cause you to have a bad day. But Clash YUGEN have got a lot of disengage, right? They've got the Nami wave, they've got the Jarvan, they've got the Wukong ultimate. You can create a lot of space for your Xayah and for your Vex if you need to. And so if you can deny that initial wombo combo from CG1, you know, you might be able to peel back quite nicely. But the problem is that CG1 don't exactly scale badly either. So, you know, I think swings and roundabouts here.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It is Wild Circuit Game Changers getting underway. It's all happening live in Valencia. And it's fantastic to see. $18,000 up for grabs between the two teams. Massive amount of money. Who's going to come out on one? It is going to be CG1 playing on the blue side. And, of course, that means... Tell a lie. CG1 are on the red side. Of course, I got thrown by the graphic, of course.
Yeah, we got thrown by the
already
graphic.
talked about it, yeah. And, of course, it is going to be Clash YUGEN on the blue side.
Now, an interesting point I want to make quickly is that this is the first time we're going to be casting with all the jungle changes that happened in patch 3.5. And I think with a carry jungler like Roselle, I think it's going to be really interesting to see how she actually rotates around the map, how she actually starts her jungle pathing, which looks like she's starting a blue buff at the moment. She's going to be maybe doing like a full red side clear, but with all the changes now, you know, you've got buff sharing, you got all the, smite changes as well. There were so many changes that came into to patch 3.5 a couple of patches ago with the jungle. So I'm interested in both of them. It looks like an early gank already bot lane.
Yeah, you could do this.
Making an attempt. Flare coming down. Chow looking all sorts of trouble. Should get taken down. One last hit, and it will come through. It's going to be Lilith with the first one.
Two!
Second as well. Snuck in Aurora. I thought Aurora was going to get out of that.
Mate, Flare coming in and having an impact straight away. The sub-jungler. Level 2 Jarvan gank. You never want to get caught out by the cheese. Sally.
Yeah, trying to get aggressive there
mana
onto,
as well.
Lulu should be able to get away with this. Yes, okay, will do. Didn't go for the ignite.
You can hear the crowd love that as well. At the same time, the crowd already cheering, love to see it. I think that's really, really big. That's the great thing about Jarvan is that you can go for the early ganks as well. And because you don't actually get level 5 anymore from the full jungle clear, this allows junglers now to go for them early game ganks. You can see, again, in this replay, Flare coming in, using a flag and drag to actually cancel the dash from Aurora, and then it's the damage from Lilith and from Hurricane on the Xayah and Nami. And when you're playing a hyper carry like Xayah, it's a perfect start for Xayah.
Flashed at the end when the last particle went through as well.
What I don't understand though is as an Ezreal Rakan, why are you trying to engage at level 2? That's to me that was the slightly off thing about CG1 there. I know it looked like a good opportunity to go for the grand entrance, but Ezreal Rakan is one of the safest lanes in the game, and it's designed to be safe. It's designed to be super passive.
Lulu in trouble.
Oh, Roselle.
I think Roselle should be able to catch her out. Yeah, she goes down. Roselle will be able to get away from that one. And I was just thinking before that, if Lulu would have used the Ignite on Sally, I think she'd have got her, because there was no honey fruit or anything available.
It was the honey fruit, actually.
No, it wasn't. It was gone. It was gone.
Oh,
it was not there. I looked at it. I was like, why did she not go for the Ignite? But I guess she probably thought it was still there.
So meanwhile, whilst Flare was obviously ganking down in the bot lane, Roselle actually did a full jungle clear, and you can do a full jungle clear into Scuttle Crab. You have to get the Scuttle Crab and guarantee that Scuttle Crab to get level 5. So she did full jungle clear into Scuttle Crab into top lane gank. Already trying to go for as much farm as possible, as much gold. As you can see already has a little bit of a jungle lead. But Flare's like, I just want to gank. I'm playing Jarvan, I'm ganking constantly, I just want to gank all the time. And that's what they've done. So they've got bot lane priority at the moment. 500 gold lead for Lilith down in this bot lane. So I think all eyes are going to be on her this game to see if she can, carry with the Xayah.
Build paths already starting to show themselves. We're going to be a Black Cleaver Jarvan first. Which obviously isn't going to get a huge, is going to get a decent amount of impact, because obviously we're playing for the Xayah here, so getting that Black Cleaver early is going to sort of make Lilith feel a little bit more powerful. And we're going to see a Ludens for Roselle, so going for very heavy burst, pure carry coming out from Roselle in the jungle there on the Diana. Interesting, because sometimes Jarvans you see go Yomus into Black Cleaver if you're a Vex you know, Vex, for instance, from Formulation, he loves the Youmu's into Black Cleaver Jarvan, but playing a little bit safer here for Flair, realizing that actually Flair's job is not to carry the game, but it's more to facilitate.
Oh, they're all coming. Cataclysm down already. Rizel's going to try and get out of this one. Nesso has been all sorts of trouble. Nazori goes down. Now what they can do from this one. Aurora taken low. Not going to be quite enough. The feathers are flying, but Lilith not able to conclude the kill. And Hurricane will get out safe.
Very quick one for me. You saw the Galio into Vex right there. It's tough. It is tough for a Vex into Galio.
I think the big thing is that, you know, you can see that Nazori has the lane priority against the Galio, has the pushing pressure against the Galio, but what can Galio do? Just use his ultimate anywhere on the map, use his grand entrance.
Oh, is he going to get blasted?
He's got to be careful.
I feel like Sully... okay.
Enough healing, I think.
He had the golden staff at the end there to get the heal off. Yeah, if she'd have gone for it before, I don't think she had it on cooldown.
I think this is one thing that Clash YUGEN have to keep in mind, is that every single time they try and go for a play, they have to keep an eye on this Galio ulti cooldown, because every single time this Galio has ulti available, you're just going to play passive mid, and then after that you can just ulti pretty much anywhere on the map. It's basically a full range ulti, pretty much cross map, I guess you could say, in a way. It's quite a lot of range. So looks like jungle priority early on from Clash YUGEN. CG1 actually closed his Rift Herald, so maybe they can go for...
I think they're just going to trade for trade at this point. There's going to be Rift Herald for CG1. I think when you've got the Jarvan, the standard, plus the Xayah, you know you're going to take a quick Dragon here. I don't think we're going to see them rotate and try and compete for this Rift Herald, so we're just going to take objective for objective trade, and you'll see the Rift Herald drops down as well. Have they given it over to... Yes, they've given it to Rizel for sure, so maybe funnel a bit of extra plate gold into Rizel to help her take on that heavy carry potential. She has got 4,200 gold. Next to Lilith, the most gold in the game, but is the most gold in CG1 as well. So Rizel really taking that mantle of the carry like she did during the qualifiers.
And you're really seeing a bit of a jungle gold lead as well, which obviously Flair got the advantage in the bot lane, which I said is going to be really, you know, all eyes are going to be on Lilith because she got that early game advantage. But look at that, nearly 1,000 gold already in the jungle for Rizel. So she's going to have to be the main carry this game. Maybe don't even need to use it. I think she's going to maybe use Rift Herald here. She's actually not even going to use it at all. Rizel's actually not going to use the Rift Herald to try and get the first tower of the game. Maybe looking to try and get first tower without using the Rift Herald, so you can try and take maybe 2 towers, but it is a very, very greedy play.
Well, plate gold's only going to be up for another 40 seconds, so you can see that the amount that they have actually stripped off that top turret has been quite impressive from CG1. And that's where some of the difference came through to sort of balance it out here. Still obviously going to keep hold of that Herald, it seems.
Interesting thing that I was going to quickly mention with CG1 is that most of the time you see the dual laners actually go to the mid lane, but CG1 actually moved their dual lane right up to the to the Baron lane, meaning that you can get all these tower platings, because most of the time they're going to be in a 2 versus 1 situation against the Wukong. Nami actually had to rotate up there, Hurricane to actually defend that tower. We're seeing that there's only 10 seconds left on the plates, and Rizel still has that Rift Herald. I think maybe you're not really going to get a lot of gold really from the Rift Herald.
I think maybe CG1 were hoping to have the 2v1 so they could push down a very low tower plate. I mean, if they get onto this tower and Nami's not there to help Lulu defend, that's going to be a tower that's going to drop in favor of CG1.
I really felt like Rizel could have really used that Rift Herald in the Baron lane though. Just take the first tower of the game, take that early game gold advantage, not only for yourself, but you also get a lot of team gold as well. And now we're at a point of the game where the tower places are gone, so you're not going to get as much gold value from that Rift Herald.
Is Infernal Dragon next though? So the alternative theory here is we wait until the second dragon spawns, then we drop Rift Herald to create priority, but they're going to drop it mid straight away.
Well, they're going to try and get the damage down, try and take away some of that vision perhaps. Should be dealt with by Lilith there. You can see the rest of the team collapsing as well to make sure that the tower is safe. So, yeah, I mean, as you say, kind of a bit of a meh usage, really. I mean, they got the damage on the mid turret, they got the initial hit, but probably could have done more.
Well, I mean, look, the alternative way of thinking about this is I agree with Stu. If you were going to use it mid anyway, better to get the plates instead of just dropping it before the plates. The alternative thought here is that we now know that priority of the second Rift Herald likely going to be important for CG1. They're going to want to guarantee themselves first, or the turret in the mid lane to open up the map. Something else that I wanted to point out, Stu, we mentioned in draft, going to be really important for Lilith to have a good game. Lilith has the most gold in the game right now, 6,500, farming up a storm on this Xayah, really generating the items that she needs to be the primary carry here. So this is good signs for Clash, because they have that kind of real driving force in terms of damage in a good spot.
Who would have thought that? I was always asking for Xayah, never came in the SPS, but we get Xayah first game in the Game Changers, so I'm happy to finally see Xayah. Obviously, Xayah is such a great hyper carry. If you just funnel as much gold on her as possible, but you know, she can become really, really strong. But it's the same with Ezreal. You know, yes, they lost in the 3 versus 2 in the early game, but Ezreal already has the mana immune completed, trying to stack up towards that Mirror Mana, going towards the Trinity Force as well. So once Ezreal gets them 2 or 3 items, that's where you're looking at being really a really strong point for Ezreal.
Yep.
I would say, especially in terms of the Xayah, obviously, it's a great counter to the team fighting clump effectively, because that Featherstorm can just be brutal if you are all clumped together. Obviously, you know, pentakills are looming if they manage to catch them in the right spot.
I'm going to be too excited with Xayah pentakills. I think I might lose.
I've seen a lot of Xayah pentakills.
Xayah is a very. I think the ult flare.
He can actually go in. He manages to get the Cyclone off. Sally will be able to just stroll back to the turret though, feeling pretty confident there.
Kind of at that stage.
Up.
Oh yeah. And you see that CG1 have immediately got those people on the side of the map. They saw that obviously Flair showed herself on the bottom side of the map, and so CG1 are going to take that. It is over with Rizal. They maybe have an opportunity to just straight up drop it mid and guarantee that mid lane tier 1.
It looks like Flair was actually just trying to go bot lane to try and trade towers, but the problem is you're against a Jace in the bot lane, and Jace can wave clear so easily. You have 6 different abilities that you can easily easily put down. There you go. First tower of the game, mid lane tower as well was, as we always mention, most important tower, because it just opens up the map so much. It means that Lilith now in the mid lane has to play a lot more passive.
But it's objective control as well, because obviously with the mid turret gone down, the timing coming up, 10 seconds on the Dragon, it's all just keeping that pressure on to keep them stuck there. They've all gone back to buy. They're all starting to group up. It does look like, with CG1 back into buy though, Clash are going to be here just in time.
Sally's got the blue buff shared over, so just going to spam poke as much as they can. They do have the range advantage when it comes to kind of dealing with pre-fight preamble.
I think this is such an important fight in this game. Both teams are basically dead even on golds, dead even on kills. You got a little bit of extra gold from the first Dragon on the side of YUGEN. You got a little bit of extra gold on the side of CG1 because of the first tower of the game.
Oh, Lily took a fair bit of damage there though. Gonna have to be very careful with positioning.
CG1 have a lot of poke though.
Rizal's definitely going to be looking to try and get straight onto her. I was seeing if there's a flank. It's actually Schwanzran that's away from his team.
Oh,
but that's a great catch. So she manages to catch them all. Hurricane does go in, gets a great bubble. The wave comes across. It was a great engagement, but is it enough? There's the Featherstorm. It's doing the damage in the background, but I just don't think there's enough from the rest of the team. And she's going to get caught out. It will be an ace. And that was the clump that we were talking about. You could see it was there, but there was just not quite enough damage coming through.
The True Shot Barrage burst damage at the start of that fight meant that CG1 already had an advantage. Rakan actually took away the Dragon in the end, and Rizal's ultimate was absolutely huge. Hit 4 members on the side of YUGEN.
And we mentioned in draft, it's so hard to make this comp work. You've got a brilliant wombo combo from CG1. Let's take a look at that fight again. Watch this. Rizal's ultimate, I think it might have even been 5-man. I think Lilith only just about dodged it with the ult there. And Rizal steps up the same way she did in the qualifiers, pops off in the middle of that fight, and we knew the team fighting comp from CG1 was that much better. 10,000 gold as well now. Rizal is in carry position.
Yeah. I mean, in fairness to Clash, they landed the bubble, they got the wave perfectly, the Cataclysm landed perfectly. It kind of all worked for them, but they just didn't have enough there, and it was countered so heavily by CG1.
I think, again, you know, coming back to, you know, the draft, I think the problem is that when you go in, if you're on the side of Clash, you have so many ways of, like, you know, Rakan knock up. You got the Galio ulti as well, and it's so difficult when Galio ulti comes down. CG1 have so much poke damage as well. The True Shot Barrage, the poke damage. As you mentioned, Scoundrel Sally actually took the blue buff because of new, you know, sharing buffs as well after 7 minutes into the game. So Sally basically has unlimited mana to poke as much as possible. So does Ezreal. And that means that they do so much damage before the fight even starts.
And one of the other things to remember is, as mentioned before, one of the strengths of YUGEN was that they were able to scale up quite effectively with heavy scaling comps. It's not exactly like they outscale this game either.
Yeah.
But actually, when you look at teamfight mechanics, I think they get outscaled. That's my problem. You know, once we get past 3 or 4 items, Ezreal is untouchable. How do you lock the Ezreal down? I don't think you do. And you can't play Vex. You can't use Vex's ultimate because you're just either going to get Diana ultimated or you're going to get Galio taunted. And I think that you're going to struggle.
Or Rakan's just going to bounce you in there.
Yeah, exactly.
There's so many things,
so many things that cause a problem where you can't actually apply the majority of Nizori's damage, and it's all going to be on Lilith. And we saw, even though Lilith is still fed 10,000 gold on this AD carry, it's difficult for her when she doesn't have a front line, when that front line just gets evaporated, and we haven't exactly got tanky items, we've got bruisers at this point.
They were all hit by the True Shot barrage before the fight began as well.
Sure.
They were perfectly positioned. I get the word out in the end. I know mine's just gone blank here. But this is looking great for CG1. In fairness, coming into this, we did kind of all predict that CG1 were going to come out on top. It is obviously game one, though. Definitely good signs from Clash early on, obviously with the initial the gank down the bot lane working out so well for Flair, but it does seem that now the objective control, team tactics is starting to come into it. CG1 are starting to flex.
I think the big thing is now is that Ezreal's now caught up on gold. Ezreal's now ahead of gold on the Xayah, and I think that Flair really wanted to try and get that advantage early game for Lilith down in the bot lane. Yes, it worked okay in the early game, but now Ezreal has scaled up, or nearly has 3 items. We're looking towards getting vision around the Baron. Both these teams are actually not going to do too much. Interestingly enough, that Lulu on the Wukong has picked up teleport, so maybe looking to try and defend against the hull breaker of Jace, and maybe looking to try and teleport into a team fight. But you can see across the board at the moment that CG1 are just ahead, especially in the jungle.
Yeah, interesting choice to go for the teleport, because traditionally you'd only ever pick teleport on champions that have got super strong split push. Now, Wukong does generally have a decent split push. Of course, his first ability can be used on towers, so you can take them pretty quickly, but not exactly going to beat out Jace when you're 1,000 gold behind, and Jace has got such good wave clear. With Hullbreaker, it's going to be so difficult for you to get the advantage in that side lane.
I think that's why I mentioned, I think it's just going to be defending the split push. I don't think Wukong is actually going to be split pushing himself in a way. I think it's just more of like a, you know, Jace going to split push because he has his whole breaker and he needs to be there to defend, or, you know, Jace is basically going to end the game at that
True,
point.
yeah. I mean, the other alternative is that we need Jace to set up for objectives for CG1. So, you know that we saw around the Dragon, we had Sally come on the Jace. She was able to then just create zonal pressure by using the shock blast and acceleration gate over and over again. So maybe Wukong says, well, I just teleport into the fight when I need to, and I can just kind of de-pressure those side lanes when necessary.
Well, speaking of pressure, it is being applied on that middle. Sorry, that True Shot barrage. Holy moly, Hurricane just about surviving on 1 HP there. That's doing some serious damage already. 3-1-3, the Ezreal so far for Xuan.
Ooh, interesting item choice from Lilith. I was very curious because Lilith didn't buy an item for a very, very long time, so I was like, she's probably got a fully item completed. Go for Wit's End, which there is a lot of AP damage on the side.
I like
so
it.
I totally understand it. I don't think there's a...
Don't think it's going to work. Flair tries to go in, doesn't quite pay off for it. Result will manage to
be careful.
Get the smite fight down. I don't think Flair's getting away from this. No, that's going to be
it was a good attempt, and I think, you know, given that you were staring down a double dragon, the double dragon scary combo, which is the fire and mountain dragon, you know, I think that was a relatively good attempt, but
a harmless attempt as well. They're not going to lose anything for it, so it was absolutely worth testing it. Looks like the top tower push is not going to quite pay off. No, it will. Lily does manage to get it down with the minions' help.
I actually was thinking, because Flair actually went in and actually died for it, I think there was actually enough time for CG1 to maybe go for the Baron. Flair had over a 30-35 second death timer. At that point, you know, there is a lot of engage on the side of Clash YUGEN, but you are so far ahead already, and I think that's where maybe a little bit of nerves come in, because I think if that's, you know, maybe if they're...
But it also is playing safe. It's also playing safe, right?
Yeah,
in such a big final, we know we've seen lots of Baron throws in Wild Rift Esports. So, you know, I think, you know, learning from the competition that's been before, if you don't need to, why bother? You know, at this point, you know you're scaling up. You know that you're stronger than the enemy in a team fight. They went for a desperate dragon play, so you know that they're not looking to compete with you at objectives right now. Just play it easy, play it slow, and that's why I think CG1, they know their win conditions. Love the Ezreal Liandry's Torment 4th item, by the way. You don't see it too much, but...
I don't think it's actually going to be Liandry's Torment, it's going to be Riftmaker.
Oh, sorry, Riftmaker, yeah. So, you know, it doesn't even build at that anymore, does it?
No, Liandry's Torment still builds from Haunted Guys, but it's Haunted Guys, it's weird, because Haunted Guys now builds into Riftmaker.
It gives you the sustain, it just gives you the sustain necessary, right?
Sustain gives you the true damage as well, because Ezreal can sustain team fights for so long, so every single time you're getting extra stacks of damage, and when you get full stacks, you get Omnivamp, you get the extra true damage, so kind of a situational item. Some people like to go for like Blades of the Rune King if you're against a lot of tanks, which you are against a few tanks, but Riftmaker's more for, like you said, the damage and the sustain.
And I think the sustain fight versus the Wukong and the Jarvan is a good choice here as well. Scary item spikes being picked up though. Love that Rizal absolutely came into this series and has already made her mark in the jungle. Stu, you mentioned that she was going to be the player to watch onto CG1. Picked a champion that she performed so well with in the semi-final and has replicated that insanely well here on stage in the final 2. So fantastic stuff from CG1 so far. And it really has been Rizal driving this game forward. Xuan Xuan on the Ezreal 2 involved in lots of kills across the board and scaling up nicely on that champion. And CG1 really now have to put the pressure on. They have to go and set up around that Baron. They want to find probably either the Elder or the Baron in the next 2 to 3 minutes and look to close the game out. I think they win late game anyway, but it is important that they get a game-ending objective in sight.
I think the only thing is now at the moment is I feel like CG1 have to try and do something whilst they're ahead, because if this game keeps on going like this, Lulu actually ulti in 1 versus 3.
Not going to work out that one, and I'm not even sure because the vision was given to them. You saw Aurora and Rizal already coming through there, but okay, this is why they were trying to rush a Baron play. It was a desperate play, trying to just delay them, saying, hey, there is 3 down in this bottom lane. Maybe we could try and rush it, but it's not paid off.
They're taking the They're literally taking the free pull from YUGEN here, and because Jace does not need to join the fight.
Well, it's down to Flair to try and just do a last-minute drive in. Not going to get the smite down. It was actually YaoYao that came out on top with the Baron.
They're winning the fight, though.
No, but Rizal! Oh my word, Rizal! At the last moment! Ultis pops off, Sally's done the damage at the bottom, and I think that might be the first game.
They were winning the fight, and then Rizal got involved. That was like...
Rizal was like, oh, I still have my ulti, there we go.
Yeah, oh, by the way...
She basically half-healthed everyone with that ulti.
Yeah, insta-quadra kill.
And it was looking good. It was looking good. Like, actually, we thought they might maybe turn it around there, but yeah, Rizal popping off massively there. Don't think she died at all. I don't think she died whatsoever.
I think 10-0-3, 10-0-4.
Triple kill, dragon fight, quadra kill.
Absolutely incredible. Incredible first game. I mean, obviously CG1 really proving why they were big favourites coming into this finals.
Yeah, definitely. You know, they took down Formulation Queens, which most people said were the favourites of the entire tournament, I think, going into, the playoffs. And now they've proven that they can step up onto the main stage as well. And that's a big, big confidence boost for the players.
And I think fair play from Clash. They obviously realised they were behind. We need a gamble. We've got to try and play. Flair obviously went in to try and get the Dragon earlier on. They were like, okay, there's 3 down the bottom. Let's try and rush a Baron. Yeah.
I think it was the play, because ultimately, as we mentioned, you don't win late.
But he's just going to drag it out longer, really.
And compositionally, you lose in the side lane. Compositionally, you lose in the team fight. I actually don't know where. I think unless you snowball with that Jarvan off the first double kill, that was probably the window that YUGEN needed to take to accelerate the game. Because I think, as we saw across several team fights, you lose to the Galio Diana combo because you're heavy melee and Vex can't deal her damage, and then you lose in late game because of the scaling of the Ezreal as well. So it was a rough comp diff, I think, from YUGEN, but good signs from them in the early game aggression, especially with Flair. They just unfortunately weren't able to keep that momentum going into the mid game.
Now this is where it hit. You see the True Shot Barrage goes across. They actually get a great engage. You can see the Cyclone goes in, the Wave goes in, but then comes the counter punch, and it is a big counter punch.
Beautiful. I mean, that's not even the best one. That's just a triple kill. I don't even mention the Baron play as well, but I think all these smite fights were so close, though. That dragon fight that we just saw beforehand was taken by Rakan. The Baron was taken by Galio. So was it
Galio? Yeah.
By either jungler. So you can see that, both these junglers. It's very, very tense, but I think CG1 did really well to catch out the weak
If you look how close it was in the pit, you see the Galio gets it here. If that would have gone across to the blue side, they could have come out. Yeah, and then look at that.
Well, they just get deleted, man.
Oh my god.
It was if that Baron had have gone the other way, it could have been a very different story there, because as you say, it was the Galio that took it. It wasn't the smite. It was very close.
I mean,
we talked about it in the game. It's like, don't risk the Baron. There's no reason to risk it. And they obviously didn't want to go for it originally, but since it was already leashed, they thought, let's take it.
I think the main reason why they went for that Baron is because they killed Lulu down in the bot lane, which meant that Sally had that split push pressure with the Hull Breaker. And you can see that Sally just ended the game in the end, because you had Baron buff, you had the Hull Breaker, and they had to try and contest for that Baron, though. So it's either you contest the Baron, you lose the game, or you defend bot lane and you just lose Baron for free.
It was
a lose-lose situation.
It was a strong draft as well, though, I have to say. As I mentioned it before, strong draft from CG1. They got comfort for YaoYao in mid. They got comfort for Rizal in the jungle. They won side lane through Jace. As we mentioned, you can't, as a Wukong, yeah, okay, got a decent matchup, but eventually you're going to lose that out to the Jace, especially if you're not going to match Hullbreaker, and then you lose in the team fights, and they did.
Yep. Yeah, it was, well, in the end, it turned out to be pretty one-sided overall. I assume we're going to be going to a break. Obviously, second game, it is a best of 5, we should point out. You talked about a lot of comfort picks throughout that one. Obviously, going back, look at the adjustments. I think the biggest hit there was Vex was second pick, if I remember rightly, was immediately countered.
Yeah, I think the Vex was an interesting one. Because we've not seen her in competitive much, it's difficult to know what her impact's going to be. Now, I think Vex has very specific places in terms of comps. You know, she's very good into high mobility comps. She's good at chasing down. Like Vex into Ezreal, for instance, is actually quite good because Vex can keep on the Ezreal and keep the pressure on. But Vex into Galio, pretty bad. And so yeah, I think just that mid lane, we've seen her play things like Orianna before. We've seen her play Karmas and Aries. That's maybe what would have been worked better in this scenario, I think.
All right, we're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, game 2 will be ready to go live in Valencia.
Hello everyone, I'm Cici from Team CG1 and from China. As a team, we prepare for the tournament as other teams as well, like do scrims as often as possible, and we play PvP and ranked, like play PvP to practice new champions. And that's basically preparation for this tournament. The specialty of our team, I would say we can execute our strategy quickly and appropriately. Like, we can do a really good job in team fights. Like, we focus on one enemy first and then the other. So that's why we can have high efficiency in team fights. I think that's one of the most important reasons why we can win in this final. When it comes to the team approach, I would say we are not so aggressive in laning phase. Our focus would always be the team fights, like especially for Drakes or for Rift Herald or for Barons. So winning the laning phase is great, but that is not our real focus. Yeah, because like in a game, in a later phase in a match, like one team fight can decide all. So that's why our focus would always be winning the team fights. What do we want to say to YUGEN? The first thing is you girls did a really good job to enter the final, and please be ready for fighting with us. We will do our best, and I hope you will do your best as well.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is the Wild Circuit Game Changers. CG1, 1 game up in this best of 5. Still lots of games to go, though, here, I feel. Very close start. Looking great start, actually, with Flair with the double early on. But, unfortunately, after that Dragon fight, it looked like it was only ever going to slide away.
Yeah, you can see the difference there, really. You know, Flair playing an early game jungler like the Jarvan, wants to go for the early game pressure, prioritizing towards Lilith, which is what they've done before. You know, different jungler, same sort of play style for YUGEN, which I think is quite interesting to see. So going towards a hyper carry in the bot lane, getting early advantages, but Meanwhile, whilst that was all happening, Rizal was just farming up as as she does on the carry junglers, and I think in the end game she was like over 6,000 gold ahead of the enemy jungler. It was crazy.
What I want to see is a more even draft on paper and see how that plays out a little bit. I mean, like I said, I think you were just comp gapped a little bit in that sense, and I do think CG1 played extremely well, but I just also think they had the tools available to to find success.
Diana ban.
This is the problem, because you can't really ban out Rizal. That's the problem. You ban out the Diana. She's shown that she can perform really well on Lee Sin. She's shown that she can perform on Kha'Zix, on even Evelynn as well. She has so many carries up her sleeve that you can't really ban her out. That's the problem. That's why in the end, they were banning out champions, like the Graves, like the Lux, trying to get other players off their comfort picks.
Answering the critics, I would say, is probably the one where I can say that. Are you guys in the scene? Absolutely know what I'm talking about.
Now the question is, who's blue side and who's red side this time?
I'm assuming that CG1. Oh, actually,
what we're doing is keeping stage side. Hence the light blue and the dark blue purple has switched sides now. So I assume.
Has it? I thought it was the same as last time. Maybe it's
I think it's switched round.
It would be very odd to have a draft that was stage-sided.
CG1 is blue side this time. There we go.
CG1 is blue side.
Yep.
Okay, so Diana banned by Clash YUGEN. Yes, they do not want to see Rizal on that Diana once again. Banning out Akali, so Necessary having some of her best champions taken away. And again, we're going to see a set. So Lulu getting a lot of her champions taken off the board. I mean, for CG1, feels like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's the way they're playing this draft so far.
Interested to see if the other bans go through for the side of YUGEN. The Lux, the Gwen was banned away, as well as the Graves. There's the Gwen ban as well. On the side of CG1, Yao Yao in the mid lane. Picked up the Galio last time, but we're kind of getting to a point now where we see that Yao Yao can maybe, I mean, we don't really know, but maybe she can only play the likes of the Lux and the Galio, the supporter styles. We haven't really seen her on any other champions. Anastasia being banned away on the side of CG1, so engage support taken away from YUGEN. So now what do you ban here on the side of YUGEN? Your Graves, the Graves is still open, and also the Lux is still open for the side of CG1. Lee Sin is also still open as well, so I wonder if they ban away another jungler away from Rizal, try and get her maybe off her comfort picks. Galio, wow.
Yeah, so I mean the Galio makes sense. I think Galio's strong, but Lux still available for CG1 if they want it. Now, of course, if they don't first pick it, Lux is quite adaptable in the current meta, can be played in a lot of spaces.
Nautilus.
Be the Nautilus that gets locked in, though. Now, I imagine that's for Aurora, because Aurora likes these engage-style supports. Played a lot of Rakan, played Thresh, played Nautilus. So, prioritizing the support here for Aurora in the bot lane.
Yeah, CG1 was actually the team that banned away the Nautilus in the first game, so actually picking up for themselves this time. That takes away a champion away from Hurricane as well. And what's the response going to be? There's the Karma. That's the Karma I was expecting. It's a flex pick as well for YUGEN. Can be played in the mid lane for Nazori, but also Hurricane has played it in the support. There's the Graves. I'm actually quite excited to see
the first
Graves.
game,
I'm actually quite excited to see Graves in the Baron lane, because Graves actually got some really, really interesting changes recently, where they actually nerfed the monster damage on the first ability, but actually buffed the AD ratio and also buffed the extra damage you can do to champion. So actually, Riot themselves are trying to say, oh, give Graves top lane a try, give Graves Baron lane a try, because they gave him a bunch of buffs. Even the ulti damage went up as well. So I think it's very exciting to see this.
Yeah, I think also, you've got to remember that Sally had played this twice already and had it banned away against her in the first game. And I think Sally, a bit of an unsung hero in that first game, creating pressure in the side lane, handily winning in the 1v1s, able to synergize really well with Rizal as well. We saw that Rizal get the first blood from an engage that Sally set up for her. So, obviously a good, strong duo in this top side of the map. We'll see the Ezreal locked in for Xuan again. So that's something that she played a lot in the semi-final versus Formulation. Caitlyn and Ezreal, the picks that she picked up there. So late game scaling potential already in the bag for CG1.
A lot of flexibility on the side of YUGEN. I would expect this to probably be Corki duo lane, because Lilith has played it a few times in the qualifiers. Again, the Karma is still there for the flexibility. And because YUGEN have are on the red side, they have the last pick, so they can keep that for that flexibility.
Yeah.
Maybe pick their jungler on the 4th pick and then look for that flexibility. Lux being banned away is really big, and that's a big thing now actually from YUGEN. There you go. You can see that the mid lane champions are being banned away because Galio's already banned and Lux has been banned. So that means we're most likely going to be seeing a new champion for Yao Yao now in the mid lane, because we've seen a lot of Lux and a lot of Galio, but not a lot of any other champions.
Yeah, so Yao Yao now has to break out something that we haven't seen from her. Very kind of heavy AD comp as well coming out for CG1 so far. Expecting maybe an Evelyn. We have got a good frontline-ish coming out from CG1, so you know it's not a bad place for an Evelyn here. We will see the Vex locked in, so obviously with Galio off the board, it now means there's a slightly better comp to play the Vex into here for Nessary.
Doesn't mean that Karma's going to go down to the support role as well.
Orianna.
Koki.
Another support mage? Well, why not? You can ban them all away. There's plenty of them.
Ooh. Rizal goes for the Jarvan here, so change of pace for Rizal in the jungle. A bit more supportive, early game focused, but they have the scaling of the Orianna, Graves, and Ezreal, so it's not like Rizal needs to be a hyper carry in this situation, and it might be up to CG1, you know, to give the mantle to someone else in this game to say, you're going to be doing the carrying here. Of course, when we've seen Sally on Graves, that has kind of been her from time to time, but I like this change of pace, and it also shows the breadth of what CG1 are capable of.
And the final pick, Riven, is going to be for Flair in the jungle. I actually spoke to her a little bit as well, saying, you know, coming in, you don't really play, jungle too much in Wild Rift. What are the champions that you're thinking of playing in jungle? And the first champion she mentioned was Riven. And then she was mentioned as well that she feels really comfortable on Riven. It's one of the best carry junglers for her. So I think that she really needs to step up now. As you said, Rizal is not really on a hyper carry anymore. He doesn't have the the Diana or the Lee Sin or anything like someone that can carry more supportive style jungler. So Flair now on this Riven really needs to try and step up to try and shut down Rizal in the jungle.
I mean, obviously the initial first gank was brilliant from Flair.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, you know, in terms of how it went, and if you were to look at some of the players, obviously she tried to get the Dragon, she tried to get the Baron. It was clearly very close because the fact is they were picked up by other champions, not Rizal. It was the smite fight clearly wasn't the problem. So a lot of pressure though, no doubt on it. The substitute coming in. Flair got to try and deliver. What are you seeing from the two comps here? For me, it actually looks pretty balanced.
I'm still favouring CG1 just because you've got a very, very telegraphed all-in from YUGEN, and if you're just able to space properly with the Orianna and the Jarvan and the Nautilus, plus you've got the smoke screen from Graves, which can be a right nuisance for things like Riven. You know, I think as long as you can space properly for CG1 here, you know, it's very difficult again for Clash YUGEN, especially as the game progresses, to kind of keep up with the strength of the CG1 scaling comp.
I think I totally agree with you. I think that you have to try and shut down this Orianna Ezreal that's just going to be poking in the backline constantly this entire game. You don't have an engaged support this time as well on the side of YUGEN. You have a Karma, which, yes, she's powerful in the laning phase. Yes, you know, she can do a lot of poke damage with the Corki. But when it comes to team fights, I don't know if there's actually going to be anything to shut down this Ezreal and Orianna in the backline. There's no hard engage on the side of YUGEN.
Yeah, that's the only thing I'm worried about. I think if Flair can really, really accelerate and pop off on this Riven, then mid-game, you know, flash combos from the Riven, get onto the backline, delete the Orianna, delete the Ezreal, definitely can work towards that. But just a little worried, as it's very easy to space versus the Wukong and the Riven as the game progresses, especially with how much CC and how much disruption you've got here from CG1.
So game 2, CG1 on the blue side this time with Clash on the red. See if there's any action early on. Quite a few early kills initially. I think it was rank 2, wasn't it? That Flair came down last time. So this time she is in the top half of the jungle though, so we'll see whether it's going to be Rizal that maybe takes a visit. Really taking a fair bit of damage already, obviously against the Graves. It's going to be a bit of a poke fight that is going to be up against here. She's going to have to get those honey fruits early, so has got the help of Flair. Don't think she's going to come and help though. I think it's going to be a bit more of a farm possession in the opening 2 minutes.
Already Rizal has the jungle advantage in the early jungle clears. Already has the ping down as well. They have complete vision of where Flair is, and Rizal knows already. She's already cleared her whole bot side, and Flair hasn't even started on her opposite side of the jungle yet. Actually just going for a 3 campsite.
She's going for a gank.
She's going for a gank. Like going towards a ward as well.
Oh, Sally solo! load!
This is why she's coming. She's coming for this one. Sally, it should get caught out here. Flair's going to go for it. Should be able to catch her. The flash gets already used. And in the end, Flair telegraphed. There was a ward in the tri-bush.
Sally won that without flashing, by the way.
1v1.
Oh my gosh, Sally won that without flashing. Sally on the graves.
I think it's the poke damage. I think that's the big thing. You know, range against melee matchup. Yes, Wukong most of the time can sustain in the laning phase because of how much healing you have. But if you don't have a lot of poke damage, it actually goes for Conqueror on the Wukong as well, meaning that you don't have that extra laning phase, you know, I guess consistency in a way with Grasping Undying, what you normally see for the Wukong. We're mainly going for the team fights, but this whole time as well, Roselle has completely cleared her whole jungle. She's already ahead in gold, and that means that, you know, Flair hasn't even cleared any camps now on the bot side of her jungle. And now
she's doing the Chad Jarvan build as well.
Ah, there we go.
Chad Youmu's Ghostblade Jarvan.
Actually did get buffed in the most recent patch as well.
Yeah.
I think it went down by like 100, 200 gold or something like that as well. So definitely a first item that a lot of carry junglers have been going for. So, you know, even though it's a more supportive jungler, she's just like, I don't care. Is Jarvan a supportive jungler? I'm just going to go full damage. Maybe that's what you do.
If you go this build, you do a lot of damage, especially mid-game. So you can accelerate pretty quickly. You've got a heavy wombo combo damage as well. You land a Cataclysm on multiple people. That's a huge amount of damage. As Flair wasn't quite able to pick off that top lane kill onto Sally. Sally still about to get that Ignite coming back up as well. And bullying Lulu now in the laning phase too.
I think the biggest problem as well for Flair is obviously it's like it's a jungler's nightmare, right? You're obviously sat there. She was just going down to the bottom half. The jungler's like, oh god, I got to come back up towards the Baron lane. Turned around, and obviously all that time she's not gaining gold, she's not gaining experience, and she didn't come in and get the kill. So it was a wombo combo, unfortunately, for her. So we'll see whether she can come back from this one. In terms of gold, it's still pretty close. She is going to try and sneak down this Dragon lane here. You can see that there is a ward. Unfortunately, that's going to give her position away. Aurora goes in, and they will just walk away from this one. Now, can they turn it around? Yes, they can. In comes Roselle. Lilith just trying to get away from this one. Has got a lot of damage to turn it back around on them here. You can see Lilith has the poke, and that didn't quite go the way that CG1 wanted. Now you can see the mid laners were trying to get involved. They actually might cut each other off there. Meanwhile, the solo kill goes back the way of Clash, and Lulu delivers.
He's got Jerome's fist versus a Hull Breaker. How did that happen? Or maybe it was versus just a BF sword.
It was just a BF sword, yeah. I think I think she just completed Hull Breaker now, but still, I think Sally was like 1,000 gold ahead or something like that. So there was such a huge advantage, but hey, power of Wukong. We've mentioned it, Wukong's still one of the strongest, if not the strongest Baron laner at the moment.
The heal off still, the staff is incredible.
It's ridiculous. And actually, good disengage from Clash on the bot side of the map. Much more even early game for both of these teams. Slight lead for CG1, but you know, right now, Clash not out of this series, not out of this game. You see Divine Sunderer almost completed for Lulu here on the top side of the map. Has to go into the Hull Breaker as well from Sally. But once that Divine Sunderer is up and running, that's a really nice item spike for the Wukong.
Well, it does seem that they are going to go, once again, Rift Herald here, CG1. Their focus, you can see the Dragon already spawning down on the south side of the map, so that will be picked up. So a simple trade. Now, the question is, will they use it before the 7-minute timer? Will they go down, or are they going to use it once again as they did before? It was almost a time breaker for the next Dragon timer, which is why they put it down last time. Make sure they get that middle turret.
What's really interesting to me, Stu, is that it's a clear priority from CG1 to go for Herald over Dragon every single time at the beginning. They don't care what the Dragon is.
There's a Rift Herald.
There's the Rift Herald. This should be first tower of the game
they should
because
get it here. Yeah.
Lulu's backing off.
Yeah, under 2,000. Yeah, it's normally under 2,000 health that you can get it really, really easily. But you can see the rest of Clash YUGEN are actually grouping together. They can't really get anything for that, though, which is the problem. You want to try and trade in terms of objectives if you can. Looks like the Rift Tower is actually going to get a second charge as well on that tier 2 tower. So really, really good value this time. In my opinion, a lot better value this time around.
Way better,
on that Rift Tower use.
Good wave shove from Clash's mid lane duo right now. Karma, Corki, able to constantly keep that wave pressed into Yao Yao, but you know, Yao Yao now has that Ludens, so it's enough to start clearing waves. Of course, one of the big problems with Orianna is if you don't go tier, it does look like Yao Yao is going tier, by the way, but if you don't go the tier, you do end up losing mana way too quickly on Orianna. That's why you have to donate the blue buff over. But of course, with the new jungle changes, it's very easy to do that. So the next blue buff that spawns, it's very likely going to be gifted over to Yao Yao so that she can continue to clear that mid lane wave against a very heavy shove coming out here from Clash.
Yeah, a lot of mid lane pressure, but you can see what they get. Absolutely nothing from it. It's the smallest hit. In the end, they are looking to try and collapse down. Sally almost walking into a trap there, but as you saw from the pings on the map, a very much telegraphed one.
A great thing that CG1 has done well as well, they did very well in the first game, is they've tracked Flare very, very well.
Yeah.
You know, the deep vision that they got, you know, the early game, Rizal realized that Flare just only cleared the whole of her top side because they got an early vision. You can see more vision now, more pings as well. Actually, they might even catch out Flare now because they have vision on her.
Gonna try, that's for sure. Rizal's there, Sally's there, in comes the rest of the team. Rizal taking very low though from this one. We'll get pulled away, but look at that damage coming down. Hurricane picked off. Lulu's too late to the party, trying to get the damage onto Rizal. I don't think it's going to quite be enough, and in the end it'll be a 3-0 going the way of CG1.
And there's the vision that I was talking about. As soon as I said it, they realized they had an opportunity, that Flare was killing the red buff by herself, and because we're Infernal Dragon, it means that you don't have to jump over walls or anything. The walls have all been burnt down. The engage from Rizal, they catch out Flare. Huge shockwave as well from Yao Yao, showing another champion that we haven't seen her play before, and coming up absolutely huge.
Let's watch that back again. Okay, that was the catch that Stu mentioned. Unfortunately, Flare hadn't actually, just missed the wall dive with her third broken wings. Brilliant shockwave into the lockdown from Aurora here, and a lovely placed ulti coming out from Sally on the Graves. Of course, this final kill, the smoke screen showing you again, really difficult to deal with into heavy melee comps, the Wukong and Flare as well on this Riven, finding it a bit more difficult. But also, one of the things I think that Clash struggled with is without Nizori there, a lot of your disruption in these team fights is kind of gone. And so in the story, split pushing in the side lane is an interesting choice to me. You know, Vex, I guess, absorbing experience and absorbing gold, but these mid-game skirmishes, I think, really need Vex there in order to kind of compete with CG1.
And most of the time what's happened in this bot lane is it is, you know, Ezreal against Vex, and I think most of the time Ezreal is just going to outscale the Vex. Ezreal's just having a free time in this bot lane, stacking up the Manamune again, going for the Trinity Force as well. But a big difference really this game is Sally. As you said, you know, last game against Scoundrel, kind of an unsung hero really in the first game. In the second game though, Sally coming up absolutely huge, showing why you need to ban this Graves away from her.
Yeah, banned in the first game, now making Clash pay for it in the second. Defensive Karma ultimate comes out just to clear the wave out here, and CG1 will not get the chance to proc Demolish on that mid lane tier 1, but of course they have set up nicely here for the second Rift Herald of the game, which they should be able to push down, although I say that
This will get them the mid turret as well. They have just got that mid turret. This is going to throw down mid and get themselves an easy turret.
I don't know how easy this is going to be though, because Lilith has just picked up the package. There is low HP bars for CG1 right now. You can see they're actually thinking about resetting.
Ezreal's not here as
comes
well.
Lulu. Good Cyclone could put them in real trouble, and that's why they're going to have to back away from this one. You can see Shran's finally making her way up here. She's going to come in behind a True Shot Barrage, may ricochet across in a moment. You can see the Rift Herald. It's a big fight, and that is going to be a great Cyclone. In comes Shran around the backside. Doesn't want to get the damage down into Hurricane, but she's going to get locked up now. Don't think she'll escape that one, and that is a 4-for-0. What a turnaround for Clash.
Really, really excellent trigger pull there from Clash. Jumped straight on them. They knew that CG1 were overreaching for this second Rift Herald. They knew that they'd taken too much damage before that, and they punished them straight away with a brilliant wombo combo team fight.
This is risky. Have they got the timing right? You can see they're going to come out. CG1 are going to rocket out straight towards this one, but they should be able to get the dragon down in time. Yeah, CG1 not even going to try and risk it. And that is going to be a massive gold boost for Clash, something they absolutely needed. Gives them that double dragon, Infernal and Mountain as well.
You mentioned it there, D-Man. It is the Infernal Mountain combo. They do not want to give away that third dragon in the game. It will be a disaster for CG1. Stu, watch this back again.
Yeah, and the big thing I want to note is that, as you mentioned, Clash hits the trigger, and the reason why they hit the trigger is because 1-1 on this Ezreal is not in this team fight at all, which means that CG1, the ulti actually from the Zori as well, actually catches out Sally in the end. But the big thing is that Shran was not in that fight at all on the Ezreal, which meant that Clash were like, okay, we don't see Ezreal, it's a 4 versus 5, you need to engage, we need to go in, we need to make sure we make this team fight count. And my God, did they make it count. Huge for them.
Shran,
actually,
careful.
Okay, can she get away? That's the question. I think she should. Gets the shield down. Is there any help coming? There's no help around. There is no help around. They can dive that turret all day with a J4 Nautilus.
Do you know what we mentioned in the draft? Vex, good into Ezreal, bad into Galio, good into Ezreal. That's the important thing right there. You know, you catch Ezreal out, and Sally actually trying to compete for this top lane tier 1.
Yeah, it shouldn't be sticking around here.
Oh, Sally!
Oh! Yao Yao has come around eventually. Lulu should be able to split away from this one. Oh, took yeah, and Sally will pick up the kill.
It looks like Clash actually tried to make a counterplay because you lose in tower in the bot lane. Clash were trying to take the tower in the top lane as an exchange, but Sally with the 1 versus 3 tower defense.
It was not a 1 versus 3. Yao Yao was there to start with.
Well, she basically up 1v3 on the tower.
She knew that Yaya was in the back corner, but I mean, it was risky from Clash.
Big shield around her might help.
Shh, don't kill the hype here. I mean, it was a risky force. I understand why Clash wanted to force it. As Stu mentioned, they wanted to go 1-for-1 in terms of tower trades. Didn't have the minions, though. Didn't have the minions, and they were not coordinated on the tower dive.
I think the minions were actually there, but Sally just did so well. You can see that she actually didn't use the smoke screen to actually help herself be able to defend that tower dive. She just used her abilities to clear the minion wave. Like, as soon as that minion wave's gone, you see Hurricane took so much damage on the Karma because she took the tower aggro first, and then straight after that, Lulu was the same as well on this Wukong.
What a momentum killer, though.
Yeah.
Honestly, what an absolute momentum killer. Just as they had a hype play, back even on gold, immediately to 3k gold swing.
You mentioned it. It was like a really hype play around the Herald to get you back on even, and then it's just gone again. So CG1 back in the driving seat. Sally, a very core item spike on that tower dive as well, which was important to mention. The Bloodthirster being finished, super important because Graves just functions so well. You get huge amounts of healing with Bloodthirster. One of the few champions in the game that really makes use of that. So yeah, I mean, Sally just playing that tower dive quite nicely. I think we're going to take a look back at it again here. She had the Bloodthirster shield to begin with. Hurricane unfortunately took the tanking on the tower, so Flare not able to, and then just a bit of miscoordination between Lulu and Flare. Just a little bit like one at a time going in, not coordinating all together on that dive, and a really nice outplay from Sally using the smoke screen effectively as well.
I think she would have survived the 1 versus 3, even if Yao Yao wasn't there.
I mean, it's hard to take down a Graves of Bloodthirster, honestly, under tower as well.
Not only that, but the Hull Breaker as well.
Yeah.
You know, the Hull Breaker gives you the extra resistances. They did nerf it quite a while ago, but so ranged champions don't get the same amount of big resistance that a melee champion does. We have so many resistances because you're all by yourself, except for when Yao Yao was there at the end. You have so much damage as well from the Bloodthirster and also the Hull Breaker. Really well played.
One of the things that Clash have got going for them, though, is Nizori is at 10,000 gold right now, 3-1 and 2. That Vex can be really powerful if played correctly. They will not be able to defend this tier 1. Rizal goes in.
Oh, that is a deep dive, though. I'm not sure if it's going to pay off for them. He can immediately. Flare going off as well. Manages to dive it through. Rizal can't get away from this one. Flare does drop in the end, though, but has got the damage down. A 4-for-1. It will be the ace, and it swings back in.
They can win. They can win.
Clash, they can rush it down the mid.
They can end the game. The counter engage from Flare was so huge. The ulti as well from the Zori and Hurricane. The AoE damage in the end. They're going to try and end the game. 18 seconds left on
They've got the time. They have the time. They've got the cannon minions still alive. It should be fine. They've got 2 towers to go down. Are they going to risk it? I think they may well. They have to.
They can do it.
Should be able to come through. Cannon minion's going to hold them off, and it will be Clash. Just like that.
Wait a second. Wait a second.
No!
They're going to finish it.
The music was playing and everything.
They had it. They had it. Lilith just needed to hit it a couple more times.
The big thing there is that you only had 1 cannon minion. Someone needs to tank that Nexus damage. The problem was that they allowed the minions to tank the Nexus damage. That means that when that last minion dies, the Nexus has the backdoor bonus, and you don't have the extra damage anymore. So huge misplay from Clash. We're going to take a look back at this team fight.
Watch Nizori's counter engage here. That Karma ultimate into Nizori, who just popped. Oh, wait, we've got to go back to a fight.
Yeah, because they're going straight to the Dragon Pit. They are going for the fight. You can see Flare's dived in. Aurora taking low. Shran's going to have to flash out of there. Sally backs away. You can see Rizal's locked in the pit, and this is still going the way of Clash. They've managed to pick up a 2-for-0. They need to just take stock of the situation, calm it down, go for Baron.
Yeah, Jungle is dead for 40 seconds. I think you guessed it correctly, D-Man. You need to go for the Baron at this point. It's a 5 versus 3. Just calm things down a little bit. I think all of them might have been a little bit worried at that point that they weren't able to finish the game. I just said the music was playing as well. Even production was like,
it's over, we're going for the next game. I mean, I think one of the things that CG1, as we just saw from that Dragon fight, they kind of played into Clash's hands there. You know, when you're CG1, you don't want to be stuck in the pit. You know, we can watch it here. They're stuck in the pit. They can't space properly. Watch this. This is exactly what Clash want. And they're split up. Clash are able to get onto the back line. They forced Ezreal into an uncomfortable spot. And this is exactly what you don't want to do if you're CG1. You don't have enough space for your Orianna and your Ezreal to kind of pop off in those team fights correctly.
I mean, Yao Yao was off to the sides as well. Yao Yao wasn't able to do enough damage as well because she was on pretty much the other side of the Dragon Pit. Ezreal was stuck inside the pit, has to, you know, use the third ability, Arcane Shift, over the wall. And, you know, what we was talking about in draft is that trying to get access to this backline with the Ezreal and the Orianna. If you can hit that Vex ulti, then it's a perfect way for Vex to jump in, use the fear and use the burst damage, and the follow-up from Flare has been enough so far to get them this advantage.
One of the things that we talked about in the early game, and I mentioned, is I didn't know why Vex was being given so much sideline priority for like solo experience and solo gold. You're seeing it from Nazori now. You're seeing exactly why that's so important. They're going to try and get an engage onto the other side.
Engage, yeah, you can see the Cyclone popping off. It should work out. Can it be a 2v1? No. Does get a 1-for-1 though in that 2 trade, which means it's a 3v4 here at the turret. They have got that buffed up.
So much wave clear.
Baron minion, but it's not quite enough. You can see the wave clear.
Oh, Lilith!
What?
There's so much wave clear on the side of CG1, and it's so difficult, even with Baron buff, for Clash to actually push down onto that second inhibitor. I would like to see one person at least try and go towards the mid lane, trying to create that pressure in mid lane at the same time as trying to get that top lane inhibitor. I mean, someone needs to defend the mid lane, but with an Ezreal, with an Orianna, you have so much wave clear even against Baron, and it's enough for them to defend for now. Big thing is, CG1 did get that dragon though, around that dragon fight.
They did stop the 3 dragon wing condition.
They did stop that 3 dragon wing condition, but we're at a point in the game now that Elder Dragon's going to be very soon. The next Baron is going to be very, very soon. This is still a game that CG1 can come back on. All it takes for them is one team fight.
Well, Baron's out of the game. You know, gold is still just 2,000, which is nothing at 60k. You know, this is obviously everyone's looking at 3-4 item completion now, so definitely tricky. This is what it's all about. You can see Clash looking to try and set up, catch somebody off guard. They know a gank is possible. They want to try and keep that pressure on this bot wave, which is where Flair's going right now. The rest of the team sort of hovering around there. Nazori's still off 1v1 with Sally at the top.
I think if you can keep Nazori in a side lane, that's better. You don't want Nazori in these team fights. Nazori, to me, has been the difference maker here in terms of some of the impacts of her ultimate and how much damage she's outputting on this Vex right now. So if you can actually keep Nazori stuck with the Graves, it's better for CG1 overall, I'd say.
Interesting thing, Baron and Elder Dragon are both going to be spawning at the same time. So it'll be really interesting to see what Clash are going to prioritize. Are they going to prioritize the Baron to buff up the minions? Are they going to prioritize the Elder Dragon to try and get that huge, maybe potentially next team fight win? They're both spawning at exactly the same time. I think it's like a 2 second difference
2 second,
between the two. Both going back to base now. Clash going back to base, spending the rest of their gold. This is what it comes down to. This is the last team fight for both of these two teams in this second game, and it's a lot closer game than the first one.
Absolutely. We saw a lot of things to counter Nazori, obviously, on Vex this time around, but 6-1-6 going to be absolutely vital.
Prioritizing Elder.
I think the team fight from Clash is strong now. I mean, especially when you're forced to face check. Like the problem that I didn't really clock in.
Oh, Lulu's separate. Lulu's separate. They've got to be careful here. They're going to try and collapse on it. Now, is it simply buying time, I wonder, here, Lulu? Lulu will go down. Cyclone gets caught in the Cataclysm. Not the thing she can do about that one. She will get taken down.
Go for Baron now, though.
The Elder will be finished off here. Now, it's going to be a 4v5 on the Baron, but they have the Elder buff.
Can they get to the Baron in time? Maybe they're going to try and look to force a team fight around this.
Not quick enough.
Baron buff? No, not quick enough. They can still look to try and fight afterwards. They're going to go try and go.
Oh, wait. Karma holds down. They're going
actually, I'm going to catch Aurora off here. Aurora will get taken down. Sally, yo, it is such a tanky.
Do you have Elder? Oh, she cancelled the hunt.
The team's not following. The rocket comes through.
Oh, wait, Ezreal.
Down, but they can turn it back around here. Sally committed for it. Sally's gone deep for this one. Lily turns it back around.
Shwan.
Goes down. Nazori could turn this back into Sally. She's stood on top of a ward. Brazel's going for it. Brazel's going in for the kill there. Meanwhile, onto Nazori, keeping the.
Oh, she actually got the kill!
Nazori actually turned it back. Rizal. Yao Yao stops the minions taking down the Nexus. Oh my word, it's all popping off.
I literally just screamed random things for like 20 seconds. I have no idea what I was just watching.
That
It was mental.
absolutely insane. Flair actually timed the third part of her first ability.
They've got to stop those minions.
Engage.
Yao's got the clear. Yao's got the clear.
Yao's got the clear on the Orion. I think it's okay.
Oh,
the
Sally.
big thing is Sally still has the Baron buff, so they can maybe like try and look towards get another tower. Lulu, I don't think has Elder, but Nazori has Elder.
Nazori absolutely does and dominates once again. 9-1-7 Nazori. Woo. Okay. So look at a chance at the replay.
Looking back at this team fight, so they wanted to go for the engage because they know they have the Elder buff. They know they have the advantage. Look at Flair's first ability here. First one, second one, third one. Cancels the hook completely. The ulti comes in from Nazori as well. Doesn't actually get the execute, but she still follows up anyway. But it's the backline damage that we were talking about in the draft. It's the Ezreal, it's the Orianna, and it's even Sally as well that's doing so much damage.
That was a hog flash from Juan, by the way.
Yeah.
But then just gets insta-bopped by
I wonder,
Nazori.
we're not going to see how Rizal actually died to Nazori in the end. I was really curious because Rizal actually jumped in and then died to Nazori straight away.
She was stood on the ward, right? She must, do, really.
Do you know what's actually, this might be controversial, I know it's versus Elder, as Flair has to be, look careful. I actually would have liked to have seen CG1 commit to the fight, only because the Wukong was dead and the Karma ultimate had just been used.
The problem is that when you take damage from Baron, you do lose resistances.
Yeah, I know. And versus Vex, it was risky, but
exactly.
I think
it's a 4 versus 5 though, so there's potential. But I think the members of CG1 were very, very low. The Baron buff does reduce your armor and magic resist, which means you're going to take a lot more damage during the team fight. And also with the Elder Burn tree damage on top, I think it's very, very difficult.
It's risky. I said it's controversial opinion.
Yeah, no. I personally don't think they should have gone for the team fight. I think backing away was the right call because you know you're against an Elder Dragon, and all you have to do is just defend off the Elder Dragon with the Baron buff. They know they can't force a team fight because Baron buff still gives you some base stats yourself.
I would have just sacked the Nautilus though. If you were committing to the disengage, just sack the Nautilus and get back into base, right? Keep the Elder on as many people as possible and shove the waves out. I see what Sally was trying to do as well. Sally's sold the GA, gone for Serpent's Fang now as well.
Pretty good, to be fair.
Yep.
Shielding from Riven, shielding from Karma, shielding from Vex. Even the there's no Gargle Stone Plate actually on the side of Lulu. Lulu still opting to prioritize towards Rift Herald. Actually uses a split push. Interesting enough that Lulu's actually gone for Hullbreaker herself as well on the Wukong, which we don't really get to see. But again, look at this. We're at the same. I feel like we just rinse and repeat at this point. Baron buff, 3 seconds. Elder Dragon, 20 seconds.
Bigger timer though this time, so exactly. Clear Baron buff.
There's an opportunity here that maybe Clash try and look towards the team fight, but to be honest, at this point of the game, it's a 50-50. I mean, we're at a stage where everyone has full items completed, and one team fight can win it all for either CG1 or for Clash.
Shuan really needs Last Whisper, honestly. Oh no, got it. Of course, Serralda's what we're talking about. Yeah, Serralda's is there. I was thinking, where's the Last Whisper? Yes, Serralda's, my bad.
GA is back up on Rizal.
Elder Dragon. Sally actually looks to start the Elder Dragon. Looks like they actually want to try and go for it. I mean, if they really want to, they could try to fight. It looks like they're going to try and fight for this.
I don't think the setup's very good from CG1 here. That's why they're backing out. They didn't have the positional advantage. One of the things that is good for CG1 is that the inhibitor that they lost was mid, so they can just keep constant mid lane prio by having someone sat there, and they can easily rotate between the two objectives.
Okay.
Oh, they're actually going in!
Lulu just backed. Lulu just backed on top of a ward. They know that it's a 4v5.
It's a TP though!
They've gone to it. The TP goes back in. Flair taken so low!
Nazori's dead!
Nazori goes down. The damage may well be lost, but they can still turn it around. Rizal will pop back up. Can go it's through and absolutely rips them. It's in the end a 3-for-1 for CG1. They saw Lulu back.
Yeah, as you said, they saw Lulu back. They had the teleport, but the teleport wasn't even enough. Rizal had GA, came back alive, got the kill, and that means that CG1 could get the Elder Dragon. They could even try and look towards the Baron as well. But the important thing is Flair is still up. That Smite is still available to try and steal for it. Will they go for the Baron as well as the Elder? Looks like they're just going to go back for now to Rizal.
Shot cooling from Rizal right there as well. Look at this again. They saw the back, and Rizal's like, we're going in. We are going in and forcing the fight. I don't care if I catch someone out. And as you mentioned, Stu, the teleport just too slow in this scenario. People were basically already dead by the time that Lulu got back into the fight. And we talked about the spacing for Yao Yao and Juan. Look at them for this entire fight, just able to kite backwards and able to get their damage off. Brilliantly played.
And Dran caught 4 once again with that true shot there. That was such a huge difference across them all.
And this is the problem, is that for Clash, if you can't get onto the Orianna, if you don't get onto the Ezreal, you can kill the front line. But the problem is you kill the front line, but you're not taking down any of the damage on the side of CG1. Ezreal in the backline, like you said, Orianna in the backline doing so much burst damage. Now with the Elder Dragon, CG1 are in control of this game. They can look to try and force a fight now because Elder Dragon gives you that extra buff during team fights. They could try and bait towards this Baron.
And you saw the difference when Nazori died. The just damage, it went completely. And of course they have, as you mentioned, that Elder Dragon now. They have the power. It's all on
CG1 need to force a fight.
This is going to be so much pressure onto Flare, the damage onto Aurora, getting the knock there, but Aurora's the tanky Nautilus, depth charge used.
Oh, the shockwave is used!
They've got a good damage! Oh, it doesn't work out. It's going to be the Baron going to CG1, and surely CG1 can turn this one back around. They will just come on through, and look at Sally going full on aggro. Flashes through, dodges in. Not going to be up with the true shot, but they can push up mid.
They can honestly end the game now. They got Baron buff, they got Elder Dragon. They just need to defend the base, which is exactly what they're doing. Sally is up in the Baron lane with Hullbreaker. You got the Jarvan and the Ezreal pushing in the mid lane as well. At the very least, they're going to get 2 inhibitors here, which evens up the game in terms of inhibitor towers.
Yeah, triple cannon stack for Sally. The mid coming.
25 seconds.
Well, no. They can treat on pushing. It's a 100k goal game. You don't see that too often these days in Wild Rift, but the rest of the team coming in. The triple cannon stack should be enough to take the Nexus down. Sally does have to go gold, but Lilith can't take it down. Lilith gets hit by the true shot, and CG1 lock out the game in what could and really should have been Clash's game multiple times.
If Wukong had just tanked the Nexus, if Wukong had just tanked the Nexus, it would have been their game. YUGEN would have won.
It's not only that, not only tanking the Nexus, but also tanking the tower before that. In that situation, you only have a cannon minion and a melee minion.
You've got to absorb as much damage for them as possible.
You have to tank the tower damage as a champion. You cannot let the minions die. And as soon as the minions die, the backdoor bonus comes in, and you can't do enough damage. Even if you're, as 4 champions, you cannot do enough damage.
I think what you saw there is exactly what we talked about in draft. You have the scaling of the Ezreal and the Orianna. You're always worried about it. And that fight, okay, there was a bit of a misplay from Lulu to back because the teleport is so slow, which is why Baron laners, if you're watching, teleport is not an excuse to not come to team fights sometimes, because it can be a difference maker. And in that sense, it was the difference maker. Too slow to the fight, and by that point, they were able to space back with the Orianna and the Ezreal. The spacing of the Orianna and the Ezreal was what we were worried about for YUGEN as the game progressed. And I'm going to say, again, Rizal, the shot calling to go straight in with the Jarvan. Stu mentioned that instant engage is so important.
And it's the danger of like the... She backed, she wasn't in the bush. She backed in the just slightly in the river, and they had a ward in the bush in the river, which is what gave them the vision of results like, boom, go.
Go time.
Yeah, and honestly, ballsy play, because obviously the game would have been so back and forward there. Like, there was big play here, big play straight back. You think of obviously the swing, it went 3 gold straight back to them. Clash got the momentum, almost finished the game, and then suddenly straight back on them. It was a crazy, crazy matchup.
I mean, going back to the beginning, like this game was back and forth throughout the entirety of it. CG1 gets the early game advantage. Clash comes back into it, then kind of throw a little bit as well. Then they come back into the game again around the Elder Dragon. There was so many pinnacle points really during this game. There were so many points where it's just like, if this one thing goes differently, the whole games go differently. I think it was like a 30-minute game in the end as well, which is very, very rare in a game like Wild Rift.
Gotta say, Nazori's Vex, definitely very impressive. CG1 did eventually try and play around it a bit better in those later team fights, which I think gave them a small edge. Sally, a shining light on this Graves as well, really popped off.
Showing why it was banned, first ban out last time in the first matchup. Absolutely dominant, but what a game. I mean, it had everything in there. We hit 100k, which is very rare these days in Wild Rift as well.
Yeah.
I really hope we see the replay of the Nexus as well, and we'll realize that, because Clash actually let the minions tank the Nexus, it meant that they didn't have enough. There you go, here, yeah, look. Because they have the minions, all the minions are dead.
I mean, just anyone
I wanted that replay to rewind like 30 seconds, because if we rewind 30 seconds, at that point, you can see there's only 1 cannon, 1 melee minion left alive. And at that point, CG1 just had... this extra bit of life. You know, they're like second wind basically in the end. Like CG1 probably thought to themselves as well, the game's over.
Yeah, we've got nothing to lose now. Yeah, it's that whole unleashed mentality.
And then when you get to this point of the game, 20 minutes in, you can see the goalie's basically dead even. Everyone has full items. It can go either way, and actually it was CG1 that come out in the end with that last team fight win. Rizal again coming up absolutely huge in this game.
Yep. Really popped off. I know the Java, not exactly a carry performance, but some of the shot calling moments, some of those really important engages was so key. And Lulu just too late to this fight. Look, I mean, look at Yao Yao, look at Juan just able to put a space backwards. They've already lost most of the threat, and then this is a brilliant catch onto Lilith. And I think Lilith made the right play there, right? Your late game Corki, you have a lot of burst potential.
Oh, the shockwave as well.
I mean, at this stage, the game was lost already. It was just a try, attempt, see what they could do. But what a matchup. But of course, that takes it to 2-0 for CG1. They are one game away from victory here.
They are indeed. Best of 5. Could be a 3-0 sweep. The only person on this desk to call a 3-0 sweep.
I was going to go 3-0, but I wanted to be nice. I wanted to be nice and give one game, which honestly, I feel that should have been the game.
To be fair, the way that we saw YUGEN play right there, I mean, it should have been YUGEN's game. Technically, really should have been YUGEN's game.
It was basically one from YUGEN. You know, if they let...
I want to get production. Hopefully they can rewind it and get that exact spot on the Nexus. Because I feel like even the top laner could have just tanked it for a shot or two. And Lilith only needed to hit it like once or twice. She was right there. And it was like anyone that tanked it would have just been enough to finish it. Yeah, because it was 1 or 2 hits away, the Nexus.
Unfortunately, we can't get it, but yeah, that's all it was. You know, the minions are there, you know, the cannon minion, the melee minion. You had 2 minions there. If you tank it, Wukong can tank it. The great thing about Wukong is that you can actually use your clone to tank it as well. So you don't actually take a lot of damage yourself. So,
but look, in the heat in the moment.
Obviously, of course.
I mean, the flip side is that they didn't get enough hits on it. They tanked it. They all died, and then CG1 goes straight.
Yeah, there's a risk. There's a huge risk reward in that situation. You know, I think we are looking at millimeters, like 4 or 5 basic attacks, and with the minions, probably 2 basic attacks away from a 1 game there for YUGEN. But all credit to CG1 in that situation to dig deep, get the items that you need to bounce back into the game.
We can come back.
Exactly. That shows a lot of fortitude, a lot of great game sense, a lot of great decision making, and I love the lethality of that final team fight. You know, the instant killer instinct from flash in, flag drag into Cataclysm. You know, you don't care who you catch with it. It's all about getting the fight started.
She had GA as well, so there was like a second chance.
And the big thing is, it forced Lilith to use her package defensively. She couldn't use her package aggressively and try and use that to try and turn around the team fight. So it meant that Lilith had to go back with the package instead because she
was out of the fight.
It got out of the fight completely, which means the rest of CG1 can follow up with, as you said, the backline access with the Orianna, with the backline damage with the Ezreal as well. And that was enough in the end for CG1.
Brilliant game.
Crazy game.
Brilliant stuff. I don't know where we're going to go with that one because it was an absolute gobstopper. Game 3 going to be coming up in just a few moments. Do not go anywhere. This is absolutely magnificent stuff here at the Wild Circuit Game Changers. We'll see you in a few. We have draft ready.
Oh, okay. No, we're not.
Right. Oh, okay. Oh,
no break. Straight to draft. Let's get going.
There ain't no stopping.
Apparently, we talked for too long.
Apparently. Apparently. I'm not going to complain. We're straight back into it. And immediate looks ban coming through, as we saw before. Now, obviously, we've got to look towards what happened in Game 1, what happened in Game 2. You know, the Galio out there, maybe. If they are going to focus on getting Vex, I would feel they have to get rid of the Galio this time around. But as we just saw, Orianna not as impactful for Yao Yao, I felt, in that one. But they got to get rid of the Graves off Sally.
So they could flex around this last ban. I mean, the last ban was Galio before on the side of YUGEN. So YUGEN now blue side, CG1 and now red side. YUGEN have to come up with something here. I mean, they must be, you know, absolutely destroyed after that last game. It's so hard to try, you know, mental reset, but that's what they need to do. They need to just forget about the next game. They need to realize that coming into this, it's all or nothing. You win this game, you come back into it, maybe look for a reverse sweep. You lose and you're out, so you have to use everything. Actually ban away the Jace, so both the Galio and the Graves are open. And I don't know what the third ban is for CG1?
Yeah, we need to figure out what the final ban for CG1 was, but it's Diana first pick for Clash YUGEN, so that will be locked in. I imagine it will be for Nizori or Flair. I don't know, which one would you expect to be in this situation?
But it's taking it away from Rizal, which is the main
Yeah,
thing
taking
here.
it away
Obviously,
from Rizal.
She was so impactful with it in the first game, but it does leave Graves open for Sally once again.
There we go.
And she was so strong on that last time out.
I mean, this is the same 1-2 combo that CG1 did in the last game. You know, the Graves, the Nautilus. Really, really good for Nautilus. One of the best supports. We've seen it already, you know, throughout the SPS. You know, the engage from the Nautilus just so strong and such a strong tank. Sally on the Graves, we saw it in the last game.
Wukong
how much
Vex.
well she did. There you go, Wukong again. I think it's so difficult to pick Vex. If you pick Vex here, then Galio is 100% picked here. I was third pick. So
this is a difficult. I would say this is a difficult comp for Graves to play a team fights into. You're already looking like you're going to struggle to actually have an impact here. You're going to get CC'd by Wukong, you're going to get CC'd by Diana. So already looking pretty anti-team fight for Sally. So
Gorky again, this is the same, almost the same comp. Obviously, they've got the Diana this time.
Yeah. I mean,
Diana's
strong disruption for the Corki. You've got
There's the
good
Galio.
team fight scaling. I love the Galio here, though, because it's the answer to the heavy melee that's being built up already by Clash YUGEN, and actually can help facilitate the Graves a bit more in these team fight scenarios. But it is kind of like anti-melee versus anti-melee. Like Diana and Wukong, good anti-melee champs. Nautilus and Nautilus and Graves, and even obviously Galio, all anti-melee champs as well. So a lot of kind of strong lockdown for these kind of melee disruptors here.
interesting where the Diana goes. I'm guessing it's going to be Diana mid lane for Nizori, which we haven't seen her play too much. She normally likes to play a lot of control mages. Ziggsman's probably towards the dual lane. Rakan banned away as well, so banning away the engaged supports away from Hurricane on the side of YUGEN. The Karma is still open though if they want to go for that same Corki Karma bot lane. But I think problem maybe.
We don't know.
Who knows at this point? But no, I think Corki will definitely be in the bot lane with Lilith like we saw in the last game. But I think I want to see an engaged support here now for Hurricane. I don't think the Karma did. I mean, the Karma ultis were pretty good in the last game for Hurricane, but I think that most of the time engaged supports are normally preferred because then you have that front line, you have that guaranteed engage, like a champion like a Nautilus.
I think you need someone that can set the Diana and the Wukong.
Oh, there's this Evelyn!
Oh, it's Evelyn for Rizal.
Okay, so it was a Vex ban, the third ban, by the way.
Okay, Vex is banned. I mean, that makes sense against Nizori. I quite like that. Yeah, I think you're right, Stu. I really want someone that can effectively set up the Wukong and the Diana. Although they've got relatively decent self-setup.
You need something that locks down this Evelyn now, because this Evelyn is a champion that could just run away from this game. You have the Wukong that can maybe stop it, but I would have liked to see the Nautilus on the side of YUGEN, but unfortunately that has been picked away already.
Well, obviously,
I want to see some sort of Thresh is not too bad.
I mean, obviously the best counter to Evelyn has always been Camille. Just because you ult her and she can't escape even using her ultimate. So, but obviously not many spaces that we can see Camille slotted into this comp unless we see Flair pick it up in the jungle. And we will see what this final pick's going to be, Ahri. So that will be Diana jungle. It will be Nizori on Ahri. She played that actually versus YUGEN in the group stages. And it will be Lulu piloting the Wukong top, which I think she had a really solid performance on previously. And that actually means the counter pick is going to be like the last pick AD carry here for CG1. And Kai'Sa comes out, so has the mobility a little bit. I mean, Ezreal's banned, so obviously you're going for like I guess the second most mobile AD carry in that sense.
I mean, the problem with Kai'Sa is that she has very, very low range. You're against a Wukong, you're against a Diana, even the Thresh and an Ahri as well. Because you're such low range as a Kai'Sa, you have to get pretty much into melee range most of the time. And that means you might get caught by a Flay, by a hook, by the charm, by the knock-up from Wukong, by Diana potentially as well. So I think Juan this game needs to perform very, very well and very, very safe as well, because if you get caught once as a Kai'Sa, she does have a lot of ways to escape, don't get me wrong, but I think it's just so difficult to try and survive against the team.
I mean, this is a super low range comp from CG1, like really, really low range. You've got 4 melee champions plus a short range AD carry, all of which are going to be suffering at the hands of a Wukong ultimate or a Diana ultimate. So for CG1, you kind of need to be engaging and setting the pace of the team fight in your favor. You need to be snowballing with the Evelyn. You need the Graves to be popping off here so that even if those ults come through, they're not going to disrupt you too much. This low range comp is very risky into Clash YUGEN here. If Clash YUGEN can keep this kind of even throughout the early mid game and then head towards late game, I think they have the advantage.
And honestly, with Clash's comp, they can pick their fights. They can pick their fights when they want it, obviously with a Thresh. You've got the maneuverability of the Ahri, the Corki, even the Wukong to an extent, of course, can always get in there. Diana, you can pick and choose where you want to fight. This could be a big chance for Clash here. Interesting choices with the pick and bans, obviously adjustments. It's always the great part to see. That's why best of 5s are so great, right?
Yeah,
obviously,
yeah.
If this was best of 3, it'd be game over already. If best of 5, you obviously get the chances to adjust as you go.
As Stu mentioned, really important to have best of 5s in grand finals, to have that flexibility in the draft. And obviously, Nautilus, for me, this is going to be Yao Yao and Aurora. They need to have really strong presence in these team fights to ensure that they can facilitate their carries here. They need to do that because I think if they're left to their own devices, this short-range comp will kind of get eaten alive.
I think we have to, I mean, I already mentioned it at the start of the day, but all eyes on Roselle again. Another game that, you know, she's on a carry champion like an Evelyn. Evelyn is a carry, though, that, you know, if you don't get ahead as an Evelyn, it's very, very difficult. If you get behind, then it's so difficult to use that invisibility, roam around the map and try and pick off members of CG1 because...
You're too weak to make an impact,
yeah, on the side of Clash, sorry, because Clash have a lot of crowd control. A lot of crowd control that can shut down this Evelyn. So I'll be really interested to see where Roselle decides to go in this game. I'm expecting probably a full clear. Hurricane actually starting the top side.
Yeah, this is going to catch Sally off guard. Didn't quite get the kill, unfortunately, but Lulu...
Oh wait, it's top lane Diana.
Damage, so Hurricane now will go down.
Top lane Diana for Lulu and Flare jungle
yeah.
for the Wukong. So a little bit different than what we was expecting.
I think they can make that play really easily because Lilith is Corky. He's not going to get threatened. She's not going to get threatened under tower that easily. 2v1 has good wave clear at this stage in the game, and Hurricane's on a roaming mad train. Yao Yao very aware of it though, and has played super defensively here into Nizori. And maybe see now Hurricane head towards that bot lane. Actually won't have lost too much experience at all here. Sally though, very happy to keep going.
Ignite goes down. Not enough though. Honeyfruit's available, so there's no problem.
Another big thing to note again, I was mentioning previously in the last game, is that CG1 again has a ward around the Raptors, which means they know that Flare is not the Raptors at the moment. So that means that Roselle has that information that they kind of expecting that Flare is up in that top side at the moment. But as expected, Roselle going for that full jungle clear, trying to get level 5 as soon as possible, because when you hit level 5 with Evelyn, you get that invisibility, you get that execution opportunity. Actually needed to defend her Baron laner. Did enough though, and Roselle already at a level advantage. As you can see already, you know, the full clear jungle from Roselle, giving her an extra level and goal lead.
Interesting, Roselle backing because she thinks that Flare has already taken the River Scuttler because she saw Flare turn up in the top side. So obviously the kind of the standard thought process there is that, well, if they're turning up in top lane, they've clearly already taken Rift Scuttler. Yep. And as Stu mentioned, to get a level 5 clear, you need Rift Scuttler, and that's really important for Evelyn. So she's going to go for the bottom side one because she thinks the top side one's already gone.
And I think Flare was thinking the same thing as well, to be honest. So Flare's actually backed off. So I think we're in a situation where neither team is going to get that top lane scuttle until a little bit later on. They're probably going to realize, oh, actually, no one actually did take away, but now this is where it is. Okay, she has vision of them, but they have vision of her at the moment. But this is where Evelyn can really shine, that invisibility. This means that around the map, she can just roam around. She's not going to get any vision. The only way you can get vision of Evelyn is through buying control wards, which Clash do have a few control wards. There's nothing down this bot side. You can see Lilith has to be so careful in his bot lane, especially with Engage as well, but really great hook!
Great hook, manages to come in, they get the pile on as well, trying taking a lot of damage, but look at Hurricane! In comes Roselle, managing to turn it around. Flare taken down as well, a 2 for 0. The impact instant.
You might wonder why Yao Yao used the ultimate there, because he knew Nizori was roaming down. Aurora has to be a little careful there.
And that's the problem when you're playing against an Evelyn, is that you never know where the Evelyn is. Was able to go through with her invisibility into that bottom bush. It's a really good engage, to be fair. Really nice hook from Hurricane with a counter engage afterwards. They didn't realize the Evelyn was there because she's invisible. They had no pink wards to be able to shut her down or even get vision of her at all. So that means that they were able to get the advantage. They did have vision of Roselle, though, which is quite interesting in that bot side, but let's take a look back at the replay.
Yeah, really lovely setup from Roselle. Jumps in, goes for Hurricane, being level 3, easiest target to burst within execution range. And Aurora, you can see, Nautilus so strong in these teamfights. If you can just shut down the engage tools from Clash by locking them in place with the Nautilus, you buy that space for your carries to pop off. And we said that Aurora is going to be important, really shone in that particular teamfight. Don't think they did have vision, by the way. They didn't have a control ward in the oh, what am I saying?
They had vision of, the weird thing was is that they had vision of her before through the scribe.
Yes, yeah, they had, but they obviously didn't know exactly where she'd gone from that point, right? So
yeah, but I guess
you can make it. You can make it.
Like, you know, the Evelyn.
But she walked back into her own blue side jungle, so maybe she thought she backed. I mean, it's semantics at this point, right?
Of course, I mean, yeah. The main problem was Flair took a tower hit. That was the biggest problem.
Yeah. Flair took a tower hit.
Yeah.
And that's always, you have to always be careful when you play against an Evelyn, because as soon as you see vision of the Evelyn, you have to be wary of where she can be at what place at what time.
I think if you see her near one of your lanes, you're like, okay, for the next 30 to 45 seconds, I've got to assume that she could be looking for a play.
And I think that's the way that Clash needed to play that. You know, as I mentioned, it was a really good engage, but they need to be careful with the engages because you know Evelyn was at the bot side.
All right,
the Dragon
challenge it. This is the first time. Obviously, CG1 have basically banked on getting this Rift held every single time, the Scuttle Crab as well. Which, by the way, Clash got the Scuttle Crab. They had the battle for the Scuttle Crab, it went Clash's way.
And the interesting thing is that Clash is actually doing this because they know that Evelyn is not great during team fights. Evelyn's really good at picking off a single member. They're actually going to try and look for the team fight, though.
She's got a good spike. She's got Death Cap and Rizal.
She's caught, though. Has to flash away.
Spotted. Hurricane caught out, though, as well.
Oh, there's the package.
Going to get taken down. Is it going to be enough to turn it around? The Herald will go the way of Clash. Meanwhile, look at the damage piling on from Clash. Have they got enough to turn around? Dran gets involved. He can clean up here.
Zori's coming in.
Lilith gets exhausted. The double goes down. The Zori can finish off Sally as well here. Should be enough to take it down. And in the end, Clash clean up. But my word, that was back and forth.
And you can see the weakness there of the Evelyn. As soon as she gets revealed, then she has to use her flash instantly. She tries to dive back in. She tries to use a blasting cone to get over the wall. She has to use her ulti as well. And because Evelyn is so squishy, she's basically useless during the whole team fight. She didn't get a single kill with her ultimate. And Clash did really well to actually contest this Rift Held, and I really love the adaptation. Grouping together against an Evelyn, it's one thing you need to do against her.
Yeah, really, really nice play. And you mentioned just trying to shut Rizal out of that team fight situation. They're going to go for the Infernal here, going for the 1-2 early objective. CG1 actually want to try and fight this. The hook goes through.
Yeah, depth charge lands. He actually gets the double knock-up. Lilith was the one that's got caught out. Lilith's at the back of the pit, though. Keeping the damage down. Nobody's going for Lilith. Oh! They didn't take her down, but it was far too late in the fight. They could have got her a lot earlier. Now Dran should be able to back to the turret here. Could be safe. I think should be. And that is, in the end, going to be a 2-for-3 fight in favor of Clash, and they got the Dragon.
You're just seeing right now what we were talking about. Clash's comp just that much better at this stage in the game. Really good at dealing with the heavy grouped up team fights, which CG1 are opting into at this point in time as well. I mean, Aurora made the play, but everybody else is a little too far behind her.
Look at Lilith in the back of the pit with the armor penetration constantly running.
Yeah, just...
She'll go across and then just sits there.
Yeah.
Armor pen, armor pen, armor pen.
And his ulti as well from Lulu. That's twice in a row now that Diana ulti has been absolutely huge. I mean, was not expecting Diana Baron lane at all in this series, but Lulu's showing both of the Rift Held fight and the Dragon fight.
Yeah, I think unfortunately what really needed to happen is because they didn't have the Galio ultimate, they would have really wanted Galio to jump straight on Aurora in that teamfight situation and just go for a big wombo combo in the pit, which is where obviously Galio shines. We see Rizal here.
Rizal's there. Should be able to catch Lilith off guard here. Lulu, sorry, off guard. In comes the Galio just for the assist as well. Yow. Fair enough.
Shut down that top lane, Diana. Aurora's got to be a little careful here. They committed a lot of resources, including a very good cross-map play here to lose that mid lane tier 1. So they knew that they had the priority in the mid lane because there was no way that CG1 were going to be able to respond to that after committing so much to the top side of the map. And a good little macro play from Clash to get something back from that gank on the top side of the map.
Clash definitely want revenge in this game, that's for sure, from the previous one. Doing really, really well, realizing that multiple members of CG1 are in the top side. Sully has to flash away hook, though.
Oh, good dodge on the hook, though, but it's going to get caught out. The Cyclone comes through. Is there one more hit? Yes, there is. And that's going to be Lilith that will pick up the kill. Has been a little unfortunate, by the way, Lilith. 2-2-7. Getting all that assist gold, unfortunately not the kills. Depth charge not going to do too much to Nazori.
Really great resurgence from Clash in this game. It is Rizal at 3-2-3, so still got the gold funneling in, but everybody else in CG1 further behind their counterparts right now. The gold lead starting to open up for Clash, and this is the first time that I've really felt that Clash's comp have an edge. You know, especially in this mid-game teamfight situations. We talked about the short range being a massive issue for CG1. In every single defining teamfight thus far, the Diana ultimate has punished the short range comp from CG1. That is what we talked about in draft. That is what has come true in these teamfight situations. This is the first time that I've really felt that Clash have got that edge when it comes to a draft situation.
And this is the first time that we've really seen Clash ahead in the early game as well, because Clash has never really been ahead in the early game. It's always been CG1, which we kind of expected going into this series. You know, CG1 is a team that plays early aggression in the early game, going for the early game tower dives, going for the early game, you know, little skirmishes. But it's actually Clash this time that realized that, like, wait, we're against an Evelyn. We could just actually group up and get an early game advantage. But again, CG1 do not want to give this Rift Herald up for free. Packages available though for Lilith. They're going in.
It's gone deep, but then Aurora.
There's a package. It's huge.
Oh, and they get the dragon down in the end. The Baron, the Herald. Get my words right, in the end. But meanwhile, look at the cleanup in the background. The Zori's getting some damage down herself.
Zori!
Come round. She can clean up. She can get a quadra here. I'm pretty sure the triple comes through, but I'm not sure if that was a quadra in the end. I feel it was a delayed one. Nazori just scooting around the backside of the Baron pit and picking up everything.
Nazori again coming huge. You know, in the last game on the Vex, it did really, really well. This game on the Ari, 6-0-2 on this Ari, 9,000 gold already. Did really well to actually back away with her ulti and then use the ulti to instantly re-engage afterwards. And Lilith's package was perfection.
Yeah.
It actually caught out Kai'Sa, and Kai'Sa couldn't move at all.
She had to ult to the other side of the fight. They had the choke point covered up, so there was no way to retreat into the red side jungle. You had to have the commit from CG1. And again, I think I'm loving what Clash are doing. They know that they're stronger in team fights, so they group up around the objectives. CG1 are desperate to fight for them because they don't want to fall too far behind. And again, once more, the short range gets punished. Let's watch again. This is good from Aurora this time round. Goes in, has the Galio ultimate to support. But again, look at that package. Immediate ult to the other side of the fight. Xuan's basically out of the fight here. And you see the cleanup duty from Nazori in the pit. They do take down the Diana much earlier on, but everyone is such low HP from that engage that it is essentially easy pickings for Nazori.
And if you watch Roselle again, like again, it shows how difficult it is to play Evelyn. You know, you get instantly packaged by the Corki, you get instantly stuck basically against the wall. You have to use your ultimate early, which means that you don't have that execute damage. Then she had to flash as well to try and steal that Rift Herald, which she did do in the end. Rift Herald is going to be used in the top lane to give Sally more gold.
Dragon time though.
Yeah, Dragon is up. Sally is trying to split push. Does have the Hull Breaker though. They could try and look to potentially trade it, but
Depth charge already used. Yeah, they backed away from that one. The call already came in, so second Drake goes the way of Clash. They are still going to get a second hit on the tier 2 turret though on that Herald, and they're going to get the tower as well. So decent trade overall.
They're trying to collapse on here. You can see Wukong. They're not going to commit to it. They know that Sally should be able to back out here. So gold still-ish, even-ish. 3K, but the scaling with Lilith, we saw how powerful that was last time round. It's a strong comp from Clash. CG1 have a bit of catching up to do here.
I think CG1 realized that they couldn't win the team fight. They realized that, like, okay, we can't contest this Dragon, we can't win the team fight, so let's try and get some gold under our belt. You know, let's take the towers, let's get this
time,
gold.
get some levels.
Exactly, yeah, get some levels, get some gold. But the problem now is that we're at 2 dragons. So that means that in about 5 minutes time, Clash are going to look to try and go towards our 3rd dragon, try and get the 3 dragon win condition. And to be honest, I don't think there is a way for CG1 to actually, like you said, win team fights in the end, because they're doing, like, Clash are doing so well to group up together.
Yeah.
And once that 3rd dragon does come up, it means more items, it means more levels for Clash, and it's just going to become even more difficult as well.
I think it's compositionally, like we mentioned, a bit rough. You really need I think you need a better flanking position from Roselle in these teamfight situations. The Dragon is the better location for it, but you do need a better flanking position from Roselle. Because right now she's essentially running into the middle of the fight, not getting a good ultimate off, not really proccing the Lich Bane, getting flattened immediately by CC.
I mean, in fairness, in the last fight for the Herald, she had to run in because she had to get the smite down, right? So obviously, ordinarily, she wouldn't be looking at just piling straight in there.
All the 3 big team fights that we've seen so far, she hasn't had an option other than to pile in, because the setup hasn't been particularly strong from CG1.
But she is still ahead of Flair.
She's ahead of everyone. Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things that I'll praise Roselle for. She has a very, what I like to call, like, Vex style of gameplay, which is, that whatever's happening, there isn't going to be many jungle camps left on the map, because she's constantly looking to get as much gold as possible, being as gold efficient as physically possible as well. And Lulu now...
Catch.
Yeah, Lulu's got spidey senses. She knows what's up.
I mean, any split lane at the moment, you've just got to be so cautious. Yeah, when Sally's...
Oh, the Ludens procced it.
Yeah.
They're going to try and go for this bot lane tower, though, and now Clash have to make a decision. Yeah, they're going to go for Baron. They realize the jungler is actually bot side. They're going to start off this Baron, but they're probably going to pull away as soon as they realize that Roselle is on her way. Yeah, it's just a bait at the moment. They just don't want to risk anything.
Depth charge. Bump.
Nice hook.
Wait a second.
That's bait. That's bait. That's going to cost them because CG1 can clap.
Roselle the flank.
They managed to get Run down, but Roselle's there, and you can see Clash.
That's the ult.
Oh, a big ult comes out from Lulu. The solar flare isn't going to be enough to turn the damage round, though. The Zori hasn't got enough. She has to try and dash away. Catches one, can't quite catch the second. They're all so low, but it's a 4-for-2 trade.
There was so many cool little moments in that fight, especially Roselle using the ult to dodge the Diana ultimate in that situation and landing the damage off too. That was a better setup. Roselle found a flank opportunity. Yes, Juan took the heat, but it allowed Roselle to jump in, the true carry of this game, to actually get some damage off against Stu. We need to have a look at that fight again if we can, because there were so many small moments that really...
As soon as I saw the hook land from Hurricane, I was like, no,
it's bait.
Don't take it.
It's like it's going in, but as you can see right at the bottom of your screen, Roselle is getting the perfect flank. The engage comes in, but Yao does so well with the ulti to actually zone away the rest of Clash, and as soon as this happens, Lulu gets the ulti, but look at that, Roselle perfectly times the ulti to escape away. Nazori does so well here to actually, dodge out the fights. Actually does so much damage as well. Actually really close to getting a pentakill. Gets a double kill.
Very close to getting a pentakill. Yeah. The charm went across and both of them flashed it.
And Nazori still hasn't died this game as well. The most gold on her team, but Roselle again, we have to make sure we keep our eye on Roselle throughout the rest of the game and look how she can try and set up for the
split up, messy team fights is exactly what Roselle wants. So as Lee mentioned, the fact that Juan was bait and caused Hurricane to separate entirely from the team, it was bait for the fight, and that's exactly what CG1 want in that situation. Really nicely played from CG1 to actually pull something out of that, because that was a team fight that, they have been struggling this game to actually keep themselves competitive in these team fights. Believe it or not, they're now actually ahead in gold, primarily through the gargantuan lead that Roselle has built up once more.
But they cannot allow Clash to get this dragon.
Yeah, 8 seconds.
They cannot allow it. So they are in the right position. You can see the ward coverage is looking spectacular from them. They are making sure they're trying to collapse actually onto Nazori, which may spread them a little bit thinner than they want, but it is buying time for Juan to start it off solo in the background while the rest of the team try and push forward. They've got no vision here, Clash.
They're going to be able to smite this away. Oh, Flare!
That's going to happen. That's going to be smited out by Roselle, and Flare's going to get caught in all sorts of trouble. Cyclone.
Diana, it was.
My word, Roselle is just popping through them. Lulu gets caught out. The dredge line comes through. The Zori tries to escape, but that is going to be CGI picking up everything. CG1.
Two massive issues in that fight right there. I'm going to maybe hold my tongue just because Lilith and Azori are in this mid lane. Spidey senses from Lilith, we love it. Massive issue. The fact that Clash felt pressured to split their comp up again over the wall from Flare to go for the smite. You don't actually need that dragon. You don't need that dragon. You've already got two. There's no real net need for this. So Flare splits up. Massive CC is now by themselves, forced to, out the fight. Useless Wukong ultimate. And then Xuan goes in for the kill. Diana ultimate is very lackluster. Doesn't get a full charge off. And so they don't get the punish on the heavy melee and short range that they usually would do. And of course, Lilith and Nazori weren't quite in that fight from the very get-go because they were over the Dragon Wall. So again, I think an unforced error from Clash that has allowed CG1 to pounce on another opportunity.
Aurora got a four-person knock-up there as well, which was absolutely huge, allowed the rest of CG1 to follow up afterwards. But yeah, as you mentioned, Alexandra, I think that, Flare and Clash didn't need to go for that dragon. I guess they felt pressured to try and go for that dragon, to try and go for that 3-dragon win condition. But as you mentioned, because Flare was split up from the rest of the team, and because you got the 4-man knock-up afterwards as well, it meant that the rest of Clash didn't really have enough to follow up afterwards.
If you cancel that Diana ultimate, it's so important here for CG1. They just need to be thinking and keeping eyes on Lulu at all times. Even though Lulu's only 3, 5, and 8, it's still so impactful. these leads, Diana ultimates in the middle of the team fights.
And you saw how much damage Roselle did to Lulu in the end as well on this Diana. This is not a tank Diana build that we normally see. This is not the Rod of Ages. Oh, Roselle actually gets a pick onto Hurricane, 45-second death timers, and it seems that Clash are starting to split up. They played the early game so well. They grouped together against an Evelyn, which is what you need to do. But now you're seeing these little mistakes, and Roselle roaming around the map, maybe sees Lilith here as well. And this is the problem against Evelyn. You cannot roam around by yourself without knowing where Roselle is on the map, because that is what she can do. She can jump in, she doesn't even need her ultimate, and she just completely deletes not only Hurricane and Lilith.
Oh, Charm lands on Sally. Can they get the damage done in it? No, there was no follow-up from that because Flair was focused to try and get in the pit, can't get the Cyclone down, can't get anything off. And this is CG1 looking to close it out in 3.
Xuan goes in!
Shield, the combo is phenomenal! Coming through there, this may well be it. They've got the Baron, they've got the minions. It is a double cannon wave. They're going to follow through, and there is some 40-second death timer on the Zori, the carry of the team at 8-1-3, but there's not a lot to answer here to CG1.
They're going to play it by the safe, paint it by numbers. They've sent Xuan down.
Oh, Lulu caught out here. The depth charge comes through. The Nexus is exposed. Hurricane back up, but not a lot that she can do about this one. They are going to back away. Roselle was taken low. Doesn't matter, the rest of the team are there. They can turn it round, and they will take it. The Wild Circuit Game Changers champions, CG1, do it in 3.
Beautiful performance from CG1, beautiful series. The second game was a lot closer, and even the third game as well, but I think both the second and the third game, they showed that even if they are behind, they can stick together as a team and they can pull through in the end.
And Roselle, questions were asked, questions were answered.
Yeah.
Absolutely popped off throughout this series.
All 3 games as well.
In all 3 games. 2 incredible picks at the end there to catch out and force that Baron for CG1. It was absolutely unbelievable. Great performance from them. They truly deserved this. I mean, YUGEN, it was close in that second game. It was even close in that third game. Some unforced errors, especially around objectives, led to CG1 getting hold of the game. But I will credit CG1 with their killer instinct for those shot call plays. When the chips were down, they called their bluff. Every single time, they went for those big engages and they found them. Brilliant, brilliant stuff from CG1.
Absolutely, fantastic stuff. Like you say, game 2, it could and should have possibly gone to Clash YUGEN, but unfortunately it wasn't the case. But, you know, overall, the game can be won on the smallest of margins, and it absolutely was there. Let's go to Valencia.
Thank you so much, casters. And as you have seen, what an incredible match that was, and a 3-0 by your winners and your champions. It is, of course, CG1, and you can see that we are joined by them on the main stage right now. Roselle, what an incredible match, 3-0, coming into this. You know, one thing I want to ask you is, what was going through your head in those final moments of that match?
Like, I was incredibly happy because we finally won, and we kind of won it beautifully. So, yeah, for me it was excited. Okay.
And coming out here and performing right here in front of a live crowd at DreamHack Valencia, you know, there's the hot lights on you, we have the live, you know, experience. Did that increase your nerves? Was it difficult? How was the experience for you?
I was definitely nervous when I was not on stage. But once I got my phones and we were in game, the nerves just went away, and I was just excited and focused.
Pues bueno, le preguntábamos un poco a Roselle, ¿no? ¿Qué pensaba de esos minutos últimos del partido? ¿Cómo se estaba sintiendo? Y nos cuenta que estaba bastante emocionada, bastante contenta por cómo había jugado. Y también queríamos saber un poco cómo era estar aquí con esa presión, ¿no? En la DreamHack de Valencia, que se había puesto nerviosa, y nos decía que cuando estaban detrás de las cámaras, pues que habían estado un poco nerviosos, pero que el resto del tiempo más o menos habían mantenido la calma.
And finally, Roselle, I just wanted to ask you, you have a lot of friends, family, and supporters who have all been supporting you on Twitter and, you know, across the entire industry. I just want to know, what would you like to say to them?
Well, thank all of you for supporting me, and I don't know.
That's all we need to know.
Bueno, realmente hay una cosa que también le preguntamos, que es que se quería mandarle un mensaje a sus amigos, a su familia, todo el apoyo que ha recibido, ¿no? Y nos decía que gracias, que eso es lo que quería comentar.
Well, congratulations once again, DreamHack Valencia. Everyone, please put your hands together for your Wild Circuit Game Changers champions. You may go and lift your trophy. It is CG1! Ooh. Thank you so much to everyone for supporting your favorite teams and all of your favorite individuals. It has been an incredible show today. One best of 5 on the main stage. What an incredible show it was. Thank you for everyone. Thank you so much to production for creating this show, for building this stage from the ground up. It truly was incredible. Thank you to my fellow casters and of course to my co-host Carmeline. You are absolutely incredible to work with. And thank you so much to all the pro players that were out here on the main stage. What an amazing experience they gave us today at DreamHack Valencia Day 1. Don't forget that we have plenty more to come during DreamHack because tomorrow we have the Snapdragon Pro Series Challenge Finals that will be beginning. So, I'll see you then. My name is Banks. See you soon.
Muchísimas gracias a todos los que habéis estado aquí apoyando a los equipos. Gracias a producción, también a nuestros comentaristas que han estado al pie del cañón durante todas las partidas y por supuesto a las ganadoras que hayan venido aquí y hayan hecho tan bien su trabajo. Así que por el momento casi que os vamos a ir dejando ya con los comentaristas para que nos hablen un poquito de lo que ha ido pasando y también poco os olvidéis de que tenemos más competiciones en los próximos días. Así que nos vemos en breve. ¡Chao!
Oh, thanks for Banks for closing the show there, but we're not quite done yet. Thanks, buddy. Thanks, buddy. I'll be sure to message him on that one. Yeah, what a great game. I don't think anyone wanted to lift the trophy there because it was a team performance. They wanted to lift it. Great to hear from Rosella as well on stage.
Yeah, and I think, as she mentioned, a lot of weight was on her shoulders coming into this series.
Yeah.
You know, I think, you know, she had a lot to prove and did. And I think I mentioned that again, that, you know, it takes a lot to come in these carry champions, especially as a jungler, and really pop off. And yeah. Roselle, in every single game, you can point to a moment where she was the pivotal player for her team. Every single win they took in this series. YUGEN could have very easily won Game 2. They should have won Game 2. And they could have very easily won Game 3. But some unforced errors and some very quick...
Game 2 turning moment, Roselle going in. Yep. Game 3 turning moment, Roselle picking off
picks, yeah.
Lilith and Hurricane.
I mean, like you said, a lot of question mark, a lot of doubters were questioning Roselle. Was like, you know, can she perform on the main stage? You know, can she, you know, bring out the same performance like she did against Formulation Queens in that semi-final?
Absolutely, and she did, yeah.
And she proved every single game.
We didn't even get to see the Lee Sin.
Well. Yeah, I mean, even bringing out the Evelyn as well in game number 3, showing that, you know, even if she gets behind in the early game, she can
three different champions, yep. 3 brilliant performances.
She could keep power farming through the jungle, keep getting the gold lead. Every single game she had a gold lead, and she proved that she was the one for the main carry. But I mean, across the board as well from CG1, you know, Yao Yao in the mid lane as well. Sally was the unsung hero really in game number 1. Had a great game number 2 as well. Juan on the AD carries down in bot lane, and
True Shot Barrage landing across 4 people every single time. It was incredible stuff.
Love this.
Great team performance overall. Yeah. A very good objective control. I like the adjustment that Clash had towards in the 3rd game. It's like, you know what, we got a better team comp early on. We will pressure them finally on the Rift Herald. But in the end, it didn't really matter.
I think that's, you know, I think Clash actually played the early game perfect. I think they didn't have any problems at all. I think the problem was that as the game got on, you could see they got a little bit complacent. They started to split up a lot during the team fights. They split up a lot during around, you know, that Baron as well, where Roselle was able to come in, catch out Hurricane as she was going in trying to get vision, catch out Lilith as well at the same time. And as soon as 2 people are dead, and you cannot split up against an Evelyn. As soon as they're dead, that's it.
Well, let's have a look at the MVP. I don't think it's going to be a shock to anyone. If it's not Roselle, I'll definitely be shocked. It is, of course, Roselle. Overall, magnificent performance. Obviously, these are
85% kill participation across the series. That is nuts. So, oh my gosh, that's very, very strong. I mean, that's yeah, really, really well played. Great performance, as you mentioned, and D-Man, and I think Roselle deservedly.
But 3 very different champions as well. That's the thing, right? They're not like similar champions. They're very different playstyles.
You know what the weird thing is that, you know, normally we see Jarvan played, you know, differently to like carry junglers like a Dinah and Evelyn. But she played Jarvan like she was playing an Evelyn, basically. Like, she was just going in constantly all the time.
I mean, that's definitely a way that you can play Jarvan, though. The Youmuu's
for sure,
The Youmuu's Ghostblade first Jarvan is pretty normal if you're playing a more aggressive Jarvan style. But I think what was just, for me, so impactful is A, how gold efficient she was in the jungle, how she generated leads even without the kills, you know, constantly farming, constantly seeking opportunities, how she set up her side laners effectively for split push, how she made those big calls when they counted the most that gave CG1 the all-important advantages in Game 2 and Game 3. It was just an excellent performance from a captain jungler that really needed to perform.
Yeah, and I would say from terms of tactical plays, objective control overall, CG1 obviously were far more in control overall. You know, obviously you think the Herald. We did still question Game 1. They probably could have used that Rift Herald a little bit, but I would say that was probably the one and only weakness that they had there, other than getting caught out in the team fight by Clash. When they were it was that risky play, should we go for it? And then it obviously backfired, but in the end, it didn't really matter.
Yeah, really. I mean, as the series went on, we realized that, you know, CG1 were always prioritizing Rift Herald, even if, you know, at the end as well with Clash trying to actually
counter them with the team fights.
Exactly, you know, counter them with the team fights, actually try and contest the Rift Herald instead of going for the Dragon. Every single time CG1 wants to go for Rift Herald, they want to try and get the early game advantage, the early aggression as well that we saw, you know, from them, which is what we saw in the semi-final as well. And YUGEN came into it more, you know, to do with the late game scaling T-comps, but showed in game number 3 that they can get an early game lead, but unfortunately for them, it just wasn't enough to break through Rizal on the Evelyn.
Yeah, fantastic performance overall. Congratulations once again to CG1. Well-worthy champions, honestly, overall. Thank you very much to you guys. It's just showing you on screen. There you go, Scoundrel Stuart. I'm Lee D-Man-Smith, and of course, that is it for the Wild Circuit Game Changers, but it's not it for DreamHack Valencia, because tomorrow, starting very early on, 11 AM will be the first game, so be sure to join us. That will be the Snapdragon Pro Series, different channel, back over on ESL Mobile. Don't forget to get over there, because that's when the guys will be taken to the field. The semi-finals to conclude what happened in the leagues is going to be very entertaining stuff. You're not going to want to miss it. Lots of action tomorrow. We'll see you then.
Don't stop now. Girl, you headed to the top now. Imagine rolling with the top down. All the haters wanna chill cause you hot now. Smile and say not now. Yeah, where my queen's at. It's us again like a rematch. Grab your girls, don't detach. We the winning ticket, you just need to scratch. Such a lady, and you honest. You be killing them with kindness. Giving younger ones some guidance. And your grades stay on honest. You should be proud of yourself. Go and smile at yourself. Chin up, chest high, get up, get fly. You so special, you so special. Boom, boom, my sister the coldest. Youngest the oldest, heart so golden. Rolling deep as an ocean. Belly gets swole, creating life we chosen. May have been cracked, never been broken, never been stagnant. Always in motion, can't do fold. And the women that so we make the world go round. To all the girls in the world, I hope you know you on your way up. Yeah, you got it, you got it. To all the girls in the world, keep shining on your way up. Yeah, you got it, you got it. To all the girls in the world, I hope you know you on your way up. Yeah, you got it, you got it. To all the girls in the world, keep shining on your way up. Yeah, you got it, you got it. To all my girls, listen up. You can be anything you want. You can be a doctor, you can be a pilot, you can plan parties, make sure I'm invited. Just work real hard at your job. If you go to school, graduate on top. To my stay-at-home moms, or business owners, you the bomb. Life ain't perfect, but it's yours. That makes it worth it even more. You gotta love yourself, of course. Look in the mirror, then applaud. All good days ain't promised, but smile through the problems. You fly regardless, confidence don't leave without it. Boom, boom, my sister the coldest, youngest the oldest, heart so golden, rolling deep as an ocean. Belly gets swollen, creating life we chosen. May have been cracked, never been broken, never been stagnant, always in motion. Can't do folding, women have spoken. We make the world go round. To all the girls